What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is a story where Issei punished Rias for letting him die. What if Issei punished Rias for letting him die? Far more prepared for the supernatural than canon before his death, Issei Hyoudou is a strong, kind boy, but even the kindest people have their limits before they snap. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Now, let's get into the story. Chapter 1. A soul can't be cut. The blue orb surrounded by smokeless flames hovered among a black velvety backdrop. It shimmered brighter and brighter. Thump thump. The sound of a heartbeat seemed to echo into the seemingly endless chasm. Perhaps it was the orb's. Perhaps it wasn't and instead emanates from the orb's progenitor. Wake up. The groggy voice responded. Who are you? Who am I? What is this? So many questions. Cuckoo cuckoo. The deep voice laughed. You will be very intelligent and capable, that I will make sure of. For now, let's start with who I am. The darkness lit up revealing an expanse of snow-covered mountains, and from behind them emerged a large being spoken of only in mythology, rare among even its own kind. The creature roared pridefully, frightening his sapling. My name is Dreg. It's nice to finally meet you, partner. Huh? I know, you're very confused. You're not even born yet. Not born? What does that mean? It means you have not yet entered the world of the living via your mother pushing you out of her womb while screaming in agony. Sounds painful. He replied dryly, not sure what to make of all this, other than the fact that he found some strange sense of familiarity and comfort within the person Dreg refers to as his mother, despite having not yet met her. It is only natural that you do not know a thing. All souls begin pure. Where they end up is entirely up to them. What do you mean? Take your soul as the only example to concern yourself with. Will you be good or evil? Will you be a force for positive change, or will you bring about destruction and ruin? Or perhaps you'll disappear in the passage of time having not done a thing. Maybe you'll die of old age having lived an average insignificant existence. Or maybe you'll not even take a breath and will return to him, having not had the chance to experience the pains and pleasures of existing. Your physical form will someday perish no matter what, as that is inevitable for all life, but your soul is eternal and indestructible. A soul can't even be cut. I'm so confused. That is to be expected. Dreg huffs, as if proud of himself. By the way, you didn't answer my earlier question. I know who you are because I can hear your parents converse when you were conceived. They plan to name you Issei, son of the Hyoudou family in Kuo, Japan. Issei. The orb repeats its name back to itself. Indeed. You are but a soul waiting in the world of souls to be given life. We have 9 months, so let us begin. Begin what? Your training, of course. Nani? Issei thought as his soul sweat dropped. And so, Dreg taught Issei literally everything. Some details were left out for later teachings, such as information on who the 3 factions are and their great war. For now, his main focus is to teach his new host the basics of survival, sparring with him in Issei's spiritual form, teaching him magic, expanding his reserves, upgrading his arsenal of skills, and testing his wits. More than 8 months passed. In that time, Issei grew stronger in many ways yet to be shown, all the while getting to know Dreg. While he felt that Dreg was hiding some stuff from him, he trusted that the dragon had his reasons. They both grew close to the point of becoming brothers in all but blood. Oh, and by the way, you will not remember any of this, nor will you be able to use magic until you've awakened me. What? And you're telling me this now? This is my first time training a host of mine before they're even born. You should be thanking me. Anyway, it's time for me to go into yet another long nap. Wait. Don't go. You're like an older brother to me. How am I supposed to make any progress without you? Issei pleaded desperately. If you knew the things I've done, I wonder if you'd still feel that way. Dreg mumbled. Farewell Issei. Till we meet again. Dreg's form disappeared. Issei's soul slumped back, as if falling onto his butt in a relaxed but pissed off pose that delinquents use. TCH. I don't even know how I've gotten stronger. Sure, you taught me a lot, but in terms of physically training me, all you did was attack and force me to dodge. The sky lit up once more as a blinding white light filled his vision, and the cries of an infant could be heard in Kuo Hospital. Issei Hyoudou was born. But really as a boy. The father was overjoyed. I sure am. The baby spoke in a deep manly voice. What the foo? Chapter 2. The man in a boy's body. Perfection. The condition, state or quality of being free or as free as possible from all flaws and defects. Such inoculation is not possible for anyone except God himself. Very few human beings in history have managed to come close to achieving such godhood in a sense, and not in the all-powerful sense, but in terms of not being held down by imperfection. One such exceedingly rare specimen now exists in Kuo, Japan. Issei Hyoudou, son of Miki and Goro Hyoudou. At first glance, the boy may not seem like anything special, but that would be a surface-level analysis because it would be wrong. By age 4, Issei accidentally set the world record by solving a 6x6 Rubik's Cube. Previously, it was 59.74 seconds, but Issei did it in 22 seconds and unintentionally became one of the most famous child prodigies. He didn't even intend to, it was just something he was interested in doing. His parents filmed him, and the clip went viral. Instead of blaming mom and dad, he would later curse the internet for taking away his peaceful life. By age 5, Issei could fluently read, write, and speak in Japanese, English, Chinese, Korean, Arabic, French, Quebecois French, Spanish, Portuguese, Latin, Russian, Hungarian, German, Urdu, Hindi, Punjabi, Farsi, Hebrew, Swahili, and even tongues deemed cryptic and forgotten such as Aramaic. His average, run-of-the-mill parents with ordinary genes were astounded. His IQ was already higher than Einstein, Newton, Socrates, Nietzsche, and Plato combined. By age 8, he was noticed by foreign universities that wished for him to enroll in their programs and offered him several scholarships, such as Harvard, Yale, Oxford, and MIT. However, Issei declined to do so, and his parents agreed, wanting him to be able to experience a childhood without growing up too fast. By age 9, the world-famous newlywed couple Nakiri Arina and Yukihiro Sama were impressed by his cooking, and their good friend Gordon Ramsay invited Issei onto his shows. He won multiple awards that were meaningless to him, as he was just doing something he felt was necessary to survive, but because he is a kind young man raised with proper manners, he wouldn't refuse Gordon, the only person scarier than his overprotective mother. So from ages 4 to 9, he was something of a celebrity for a while, before the fanaticism gradually died down when he chose not to study abroad. He was glad it did, not understanding mankind's obsession with what specific individuals as young as him chose to do in life. His unnatural exponential learning curve could not be scientifically explained. It should not be humanly possible. However, as only God can be considered perfection, Issei has his deficiencies. He considers his life a hassle, not wanting to be famous. Why couldn't he just be Issei and live like any other kid? Stupid Ryaju scum should just die in a fire. Then there's the females. By the time he was 11, girls of all ages that are older than him ranging from 14 to mid-40s would flirt with him, making him feel a bit shy and uncomfortable. He knew they'd do it mostly because he's a handsome young lad, but also partially because he has a bright future ahead of him that will mean a lot of money, something that unfortunately attracts many gold diggers. Maybe they're attracted to him because of his physical growth too. He was 5 foot 7 inches by the age of 11. At 12, he was 5 foot 9 feet, and by 13, Issei hit 6 foot before leveling out the next year at 6 foot 3, for now. There's also an obvious lack of friends other than a brief spark he had with some boy that went by the name of something Hyoudou. Even Issei can be forgetful. So while his IQ is off the charts, his EQ is average at best, and his conversational skills can be awkward for him. It certainly didn't help that the Hyoudou family had to move away. Strangely enough, the only things that make him feel truly at peace are the color red and lizards, both of which give him deja vu for some reason. Those shows and movies he'd watch as a kid, such as documentaries on dinosaurs and the Lord of the Rings, would excite him. Who cares that the ring wraiths are evil? The fell beasts there are gnarly. Now, Issei is 15 and about to enter high school. The night before the entrance exam, he obeyed his parents that ordered him to study like any other child, as he winged the test at the last minute and aced it. Stepping into his new classroom, he spotted his seat in the second to last row by the window. The teacher introduced herself and left, saying they have the day off before school really begins the next day. Then, everyone introduced themselves starting with a boy with blonde hair and blue eyes, Issei Hyoudou, and 2 of Issei's seatmates made fools of themselves and instantly destroyed their reputation by earning the nickname of the perverted duo. Something caught Issei's attention. Outside the window, a multicolored bird was staring him down. When he blinked, it was gone. Elsewhere, 2 supernatural beings are meeting at a warehouse near the edge of town. Did we have to meet all the way out here? A black-haired man with red eyes and pointy ears frowned. If one were to look at him, they'd assume that he's an elf were it not for his demonic appearance. Indeed. A man with bat-like wings and a red tuxedo said. I carefully chose this spot as it is on the opposite side of where your kind reside. So, will the girl target him? Yes. In order to get rid of me permanently, she will attempt to bring him over to her side. The fallen angel sneered. An insignificant human, but one you think may bring your betrothed victory. The devil nodded. Yes. Terminate him immediately. Black wings sprouted as the fallen grinned wickedly. With pleasure. He took off. The devil teleported away as well, not noticing a pair of cat ears sticking out of a bush. The white-haired girl just arrived at the scene and only saw the fallen angel flying away, not the devil. In the window of the Occult Research Club building, Rias Gremory stared down at the brown-haired boy that sat by a tree and waved at her with a polite, shy smile. She spoke with her servant behind her. "So you saw a fallen angel with your own eyes, huh?" "Yes, President." Kaneko nods. "Your information is correct. They're here on your territory and are planning something. The number of sightings is increasing as our wards have been detecting more of them day by day." Her focus on the boy never wavered, even as he got up and left the school grounds. She didn't miss how someone was following him. Her senses alarmed her of this person's identity. "Kaneko, go follow that boy whenever he isn't at school." "Yes, President." The other two club members gave her curious looks but didn't question her command. Issei sighed. It's been a couple weeks since school started and he wasn't able to make a single friend. As a matter of fact, everyone gave him weird looks, some filled with fear, others bordering hate. "Did I do something wrong?" "Excuse me? Are you Issei Hyoudou?" Stopping in the middle of the overpass, he turned his head to see a beautiful girl with long black hair and magenta eyes. "Yes," he responded. For some reason, ever since he was young and many older girls and women would flirt with him, he developed a distrust for most females except for his own mother. However, he could at least hear this one out. "Not to sound weird, but I've seen you pass by here a lot. I thought you were cute, so. Wanna go out on a date?" She tilts her head innocently. His eyes widen while his arm throbs in pain, but he ignores it. "This could be my chance to get over my distrust of the opposite sex." Sure. By the way, I didn't get your name, miss." "Amano. Yuma Amano. Nice to meet you." She bounced happily. "Let's meet up here. How about this Saturday?" "Sounds good." He waved her off. A pit formed in his stomach. She couldn't have an ulterior motive, right? She frowned as she disappeared from his sight. He actually is pretty cute for a human. It's too bad he has to die. Neither of them noticed a certain Nekashu that took a picture of them together. "He's come in contact with a fallen angel, President." "I see. Thank you, Kaneko. This is perfect." "Rias?" Akeno questions. "She's likely going to kill him. If we let it play out, it might just be the perfect storm I need. The boy must die." "Yes." The redhead grins, all too eager. While the other two are fine with this, the only one who was disturbed by her mentality is her knight. However, once again, he doesn't say anything. The date went as good as a first date could go. She brought him clothes, he spoon-fed her a sundae, the usual. But then, they took a walk in the park and Issei felt brave enough to do something as lewd as holding hands with her. On the outside, Yuma pretended to be embarrassed, but deep down, the tsundere side of her was aghast. "I was beginning to enjoy this date and was considering not killing you, but touching me like this. I'll end you real soon, you pervert." His arm throbbed again, making him wince in pain briefly. They arrived in the park as she skipped ahead of him a little. "The sun is setting. It's very beautiful, isn't it?" "Yes." He finally let his guard down, to which her facade almost broke with sinister laughter. She slowly walked towards and placed her hands on his chest, startling him. "I have a favor to ask you." "What is it?" Kaneko, who was watching this, sent a telepathic message to Rias, telling her to come to her location immediately. "Will you die for me?" "Yes." "Why?" "We just met. I've never had a friend before, much less a girlfriend. In such relationships, people value loyalty over anything else, right? So you'd have my eternal loyalty." Issei gives her an innocent grin, making her heart throb in pain. Frankly, his instant answer shocked her, but she remembered that she's here to kill him, not enjoy his company. Shaking her head and trying not to get emotionally attached, she transformed into her true self, hovering in the air, while giving him a hard look as if looking at something as uninteresting as an ant, or at least she tried to. Warning bells went off in his head. Dodge. He had no idea where that voice came from, but he did what it said and instinctually barrel rolled to the left just as something sizzling hot whizzed past his head. It was a pink spear of light. "So magic is real. I'm not surprised, but why is she trying to kill me?" Infuriated, Issei had a feeling he couldn't run away, so he instead attempted to charge her. Rainer scowls and dive bombs, successfully tackling him, pinning him down as he thrashes around in rage. "You tried to kill me," he shouts. "Shut up and listen to me. Please don't make this any harder than it already is," she pleaded desperately. Seeing his trust in her break was too much for her. He stopped thrashing around and instead glared up at her. "You have something dangerous inside you. My task was." Before she could explain, a blue light spear suddenly stabbed into him in the lower torso, shocking them both and making Rainer gasp as she looked up to see where it came from. A Nephilim with black hair tied into a ponytail. "Fufu. President sent me as a last resort in case you failed, little fallen." Fearing for her life as she senses the Gremory Queen's immense power, Rainer teleports away, gritting her teeth. I'm sorry, Issei. Ahora. You're dying. Akeno licks her lips, turned on by the sight of his blood. He coughs up blood. No. Cough. Shit. You're the one that got me. The last thing he saw was the same Redeed from school walking up to him with 8 pawns in her grip. Chapter 3. Waking the Fallen. Never piss off a dragon. This saying is universally echoed throughout most of the supernatural world after what happened in the Great War. However, some people never learn. Braig was pissed off. Like Doomslayer and Kratos levels of pissed off. How could the devil so mercilessly murder his hatchling? He didn't care for their reasons, he just wants blood. As for what to do with his girlfriend, he'd leave that decision to his host. He couldn't deny that he was upset though. All Issei wanted was someone outside his family to care for him. Wake up, partner. Issei stirred in his mindscape. Drag. Do you remember? Yeah. Everything is coming back to me. The world of souls prior to my life, your training, the date with Yuma, and my murder. Braig then told him everything he knows about the 3 factions, the Great War, and especially about the devil's legal slavery system disguised as chess symbols called evil pieces. What will you do now? I want revenge, but the one who did it works for the sister of one of the Mau. I'll pretend to be a good and faithful servant, but very soon, I'll break free. Normally, a servant of a devil can never truly be free unless by the permission of one of the Mau, or by promotion to high class, but the magic I taught you will be useful. Just be careful not to lethally attack your master while you're under her command. Duly noted. By the way, why did it take me dying for you to wake up? If I hibernate, a strong emotional stimulus is necessary. He woke up in his bed, feeling pissed off, but using his training to hide his intentions and his true emotions. The Grimoire heiress was spooning him from behind while naked to heal him. Not that he needs it. He has already unlocked his potential to the utmost degree that Drake imagined, but he'll continue to get exponentially stronger. He already has his balance breaker and scale mail, but around Rias' peerage, he'll pretend to be weaker than he really is. Rias yawned and stretched. Good morning, Issei. Why are you in my bed? His voice comes out as nervous. He may hate this Redeed deep down, but her massive breasts are still distracting. Stupid slut. Can't she put on some clothes? At least Rainer was still wearing hers when she transformed. Healing you, of course. She went through the process of explaining that she's a devil, as well as trying to flirt with him, only for him to give her no reaction. He got up, got dressed, and left the house, leaving a pouting devil princess. Instead of attending classes, he went over to the Orc Clubroom where he sensed stronger supernatural signatures. There, he found Akeno Himejima and Kaneko Taoju. Ahora. Hello, Issei. Senpai. Why did you kill me? Ahora. Straight to the chase, I see. Cut the crap. Akeno's playful demeanor fell. Very well. My master, Rias, your new king, is in an arranged marriage. At least 3 of us here are willing to do whatever it takes to help her, but I don't know about Hyoudou-kun. Even Kiba. Yet another name added to his list of potential enemies, although the way she phrased it made it sound like the blonde actually has morals unlike the rest of them. And again, she could be saying that just to make Issei let his guard down around the blonde, because when it comes down to it, Kiba has probably known Rias far longer than he has known Issei, and he'll always side with the Redeed. Therefore, he cannot be trusted. What will you do now, Issei? Will you obey, or will I have to electrocute you into submission? She licked her lips as lightning danced in her palms. Kaneko stopped eating her sweets as she looked at him, only further adding to the tension. I will help Rias get out of her marriage. After that, we are done. That answer seemed to satisfy her. For the first time in his goody two-shoes life, Issei ditched school. Where are you going? The mountains, Drake. I sometimes would go camping out there with pops and grandpops. There's a place out there with several massive boulders out there made of iron ore. Wait, are you about to do what I think you are? Indeed. It's time I make myself a weapon. Traversing out to the mountains, Issei activated his balance breaker and built himself a workstation. Flying out to sea, he filled a big bucket with lots of water and purified it using magic before heading back. Then, he smelted several iron rocks by breathing fire, turned them into molten steel, used his armored hand as a hammer to bang the hardening weapons into shape, and put them into the now boiling hot bucket. After hundreds of failed attempts where he'd test the weapons only for them to break easily, he finally made one that is both durable and practical in combat. The sword in his hands looks like an exact replica of Isildur's and Aragorn's weapon, Anduril, in The Lord of the Rings, something that looks so ordinary but has an epic backstory. Heh. This thing will start out shitty, but will be like one of those video game weapons that has legendary potential. Not if you use it correctly. What will you call it? You have to give it a name. Early retirement. You're serious? I'm not one for fancy names. I mean, I could have given it something punny like slice of life, piece of my mind, or something, but fuck that. Braid cackles in amusement. Issei puts early retirement into his pocket dimension, but not before putting special draconic magic into its properties that will make the sword more powerful with every person or animal he kills. On his way back home, he stops at a park where he sees a blonde nun healing an injured young boy. The nun spots him and, as if drawn to him, she approaches and says, "Excuse me sir, I'm new in town. Can you please point me to where the church is?" "Sure thing. I'm Issei Hyoudou. Asia Argento." As they walk, she reluctantly explains her backstory, how she was used by the church, but branded a witch for having such a power, how she never had any friends, how her own parents didn't want her. Issei couldn't help but sympathize. "Ah. I shouldn't be telling you all this. You probably wouldn't want to hear it. Don't be. I'm very sorry you had to go through all that. Sometimes it is for the best to say whatever is on our minds." Asia smiles. "I guess there's just something about you that makes it easy to talk." "Really? I'm glad." Arriving at the stairs leading to the church, Issei felt a little lightheaded. Must be the effect a holy site has on devils. The sound of a pair of wings flapping alerted them to the arrival of a gatekeeper. "Issei?" It was Rainer. She was surprised to see him so soon after his death but not shocked. "Your real name? Not that Yuma Mono bullshit," he demanded coldly. Rainer. Rainer." He growled. He was angry at her, but not angry enough to hurt her unless she tried something again. "I'm here to drop Asia off." "Mr. Issei?" Asia looks at him in worry. "Asia, the truth is that I am a devil. I wanted to tell you before you hear from someone else." She was shocked but nodded. "I see. You're still my friend, right?" "Of course." He grinned before scowling at his girlfriend, if he could still call her that. "Rainer, the next time I come here, I will bring the devils that reincarnated me into one of them against my will, and when I do, I will kill every last one of your friends and co-workers here except you. I have many questions that you will answer, do you understand me?" He flares his aura threateningly. "Why yes, I understand. Mr. Issei." "I'm sorry Asia." "Issei." Rainer raises her voice, as if she needs to get something off her chest. "In 2 days, there will be a ritual that the others here will perform to attempt to take Asia's sacred gear. It will kill her," he concluded, shocking the blonde. "You're telling me this why? I don't want you to blame me for it. You already have enough to be angry at me for." He sighs and teleports away, making his girlfriend let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "I'm going to die?" Asia asks softly. "No, you will not. Issei has gotten very powerful, it seems. He'll save you." Rainer reassures her as she leads the innocent girl inside. "So that's how it is." Issei finishes informing the orc of the plans of the rogue fallen angels at the church and his wish to attack them. "Are you crazy? Attacking them could reignite the Great War. I will not allow it." Rias screams. "Besides, one of them already attacked me, you insensitive daft cunt." The peerage bristles at his insult. "Besides, I was not asking for your permission, I was informing you of what will happen. I'm going there, and you will either stay here or you will help, but you will not stand in my way." Quickly, he got up and left. "All is going according to my plan." For Asia, she could only feel dwindling hope and increasing dread. However, that soon diminished on the night of the ritual when she heard screams and explosions. Upstairs, Issei was wreaking havoc on the exorcists. The rogue exorcists would shoot guns carrying explosive rounds, only for them to miss as their target seemingly phases out of existence before taking their lives. Every time he'd kill with early retirement, the weapon slowly began feeling less and less heavy and more in tune with his emotions, as if it has a soul of its own. The peerage soon arrived. Rias and Akeno engaged with 2 fallen outside, while Kaneko and Kiba dueled an insane man named Fried Selzen. As all this was going on, 3 people downstairs were sweating nervously in Rainer, Asia, and Donaseek. Donaseek scowled. "TCH. Rainer, cover me while I begin the ritual." Before he could begin, she stabbed him in the back with a light spear right as Issei came bursting in. "Fuck. I wanted a strong opponent. Damn you, Rainer." "I'm sorry." She apologizes in a confused manner. The rest of the devils came bursting in as Issei freed Asia. Rias and Co circled Rainer like predators eyeing their prey. "Fallen angel Rainer, you've toyed with my servant's emotions long enough. How did you know my name? Only Issei and Asia are supposed to know." Issei isn't exactly quiet when he shouts. Rias intimidated Rainer with her power of destruction. "Issei." Rainer shivered in fear. "Issei. Help." He walked in between them and faced Rias. "Issei, what are you doing? Get out of the way so I can take care of this fallen filth." "No. I'm ordering you to." "I said no." He shouted, startling her. "I have some questions that need answering." The day I woke up after you resurrected me, I saw something in the club room, a picture of you Uma and I on our date together. I also thought back to how quickly you and Akeno showed up when Rainer tried to kill me. Tell me, Rias, did you know about what the fallen angels were doing in this town? Yeah. She replied like it was the most obvious thing in the world. His hair covers his eyes. And you did nothing to stop them from trying to kill me? Why would I? You're far too useful for your own good. Before she could blink, Issei socked her in the stomach hard, making her fly across the room and crash into a wall, coughing in pain. Hiba was the first to react as he attempted to retaliate, raising his sword into the air, but before he could activate sword birth, a powerful dragon shot hit him right in the face and blew him to smithereens, killing him instantly. This frightened Kaneko and Akeno so much that their fear made them use their last resort. Senjutsu and Holy Lightning. Kaneko dashed forward with the power of her people in hand, but the Red Dragon Emperor's malicious aura made her collapse and scream at the affliction as it picked at her skin and burned her like 1,000 fire ants eating her alive. While she burns to death, Akeno launches her attack, resulting in a big explosion, forcing Rainer to cover her face, small debris flying everywhere. For a moment, the Priestess of Thunder thinks she got him, but she let her guard down too soon. Through the smoke, Issei launched himself towards the queen and stabbed her in the exact same spot of her body that she stabbed him, taking in a sick sense of pleasure upon seeing her eyes widen to the size of dinner plates as she vomits blood and collapses when he retracts the blade, slowly bleeding out. Then, as the life force of Kaneko and Akeno slowly fade, he turns towards his first victim, the red-haired king. You bitch. You orchestrated my death. Rias, who was frozen in pain and terror upon seeing her peerage get destroyed so easily, could only beg for her life. Wait. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. You're sorry. You're only sorry that you got caught and now have to face the consequences. Rainer winces, feeling that his words were aimed at her too, and despite the fact the Grimoire was about to kill her, she couldn't help but feel a bit sorry for the princess. Before he punishes Rias, Issei uses the purely draconic magic he has to safely eject his evil pieces to ensure he doesn't die for hurting his now former master, and he threw the pawns in her face. Issei slashed at Ria's body, making her scream in agony. Every cut was non-lethal, meant to torture her, his sword imbued with malicious draconic intent that made it even more painful. Good. She's too weak to contact her brother for help. Why, you said you'd get me out of my arranged marriage. Rias sobs. I just did. You never specified by which manner you wanted to exit the life your parents set up for you, so I chose for you. What? What are you going to do to me? She whimpered. I'll break you mentally. Your betrothed won't want a person that is incapable of doing anything. All you'll be good for is being his fuck toy, and even then, he still wouldn't want you. He places his hands on the sides of her head and channels memory-altering magic so that she forgets everything except that her servants are dead, making her gasp as her eyes become about as clear as ejaculate. Rias Grimoire's peerage are dead, and she, the king and the lone survivor, will never be the same. Opening a magic circle and teleporting them away, leaving Rainer and himself at the church, he turns and sets his eyes on his fallen girlfriend, who gulps nervously. Surzich's Lucifer was busy with paperwork when a magic circle appeared before him, and out fell 4 things onto his desk that shocked him. It was the burnt remains of Kaneko alongside several smaller items on top of her. A broken sword hilt belonging to Kiba, a fallen angel feather he knew was once a Keno, and lastly, a charcoal piece of a devil's wings. Ria's wings. He screamed in agony and fury. His wife and queen, Grafia, came rushing in to see what's wrong, only to be shocked herself. Briefly thinking that Rias is dead, they're interrupted by another magic circle opening, followed by the person in question herself. Rias. He immediately dashes towards her, both relieved that she's alive from whatever attacked them, as well as enraged when he finds her wounded. His little sister curls into a miserable ball, her eyes wide with fear, mumbling to herself on loop. Kiba. Kaneko. Akeno. Kiba. Kaneko. Akeno. Rias, snap out of it. Kiba. Kaneko. Akeno. Kiba. Kaneko. Akeno. Surzich's and Grafia exchange angry looks of understanding. He swore that whoever hurt her would pay with their life. Chapter 4. A reason to not die. Where do we go when we die? This is an age-old question debated for thousands of years. Atheists argue that we cease to exist. However, this is illogical and incorrect. Consider this fact. If a place that is said to be haunted receives tourists that feel negative energy there, say a great sadness and pain because the site was once the location of a great battle in a war, then that means that something resides there. One example would be the American Civil War, specifically Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. What is this energy the tourists feel? This energy is none other the souls of the dead. The soul is made up of energy, and that energy includes emotions and who we were, so that energy must be redirected somewhere when separated from the body, whether naturally or by force. And right now, fallen angel Rainer was afraid that she'd feel a similar pain that her boyfriend might inflict on her. Click-clack. Came the echoing sound of his footsteps in the large, now mostly barren church as he approaches, causing her anxiety to rise. He put his sword early retirement away, but despite being unarmed, she felt like he's holding a gun to her head. Rainer is a deer caught in the sun, and all she can do is stare at her potential executioner's feet, not daring to look up. Why? His harsh voice questioned. Why did you do it? Lord Kakabiel ordered me. The cadre class fallen. The volume of his voice lowers. His motive? He didn't say. I understand. Still, you attempted to kill me. He suddenly shouts, making her cower in fear. I am sorry. She considers bowing, but knew that would only infuriate him, as he'd consider it an act to save her skin, so instead, her gaze finally meets his furious green eyes. Something akin to surprise and a little respect is sent her way, that she met his challenging look with her own. There's only one reason why you won't die. As punishment for your crimes, you serve me and live with me from now on. Shocked that he let her live, she can only nod. I accept this punishment, my lord. Just call me Issei. I was never one for formalities among those that were supposed to be close to me. The jab at her betrayal, one she felt. Issei, I accept this punishment, but if we're seen by someone who isn't human, won't they have questions as to why a fallen angel is working for a devil? Maybe, but you're wrong about something. He roughly grabs her by an arm and pulls her onto her feet, making her wince in pain. I am no longer a devil. I am now a pure-blooded dragon. Drake tells me that the process to become one for those who aren't born among his kin is normally painful, but my magic, body, and life force have been made extremely resistant and tough since before I was born. For me, the process of becoming what I was supposed to be was a walk in the park. Without warning, he grabs Asia's unconscious form and teleports the three of them to their house. You will live among my parents and sleep in the same room as me and Hyoudou. If my mother ever needs anything while we're both at home, you are to help her. You and Asia will also attend school with me. She nods. Okay. What is it? I've noticed you're no longer trying to intimidate me. Your aura. I have no reason to trust you. Issei glares at her. However, I also do not believe fear is an effective motivator. When backed into a corner, you'll fight for your life. Then why not just get rid of a potential threat and kill me? And not that I could ever lay a finger on the Red Dragon Emperor, but from your perspective, I could be an enemy and a risk factor. Like I said, I do not trust you at all. However, you didn't do it, you were ordered to. Turning towards the house, he stands in front of the door. Before we go in, I must set another rule. You will show your true appearance to them, a mature young woman, but you will not display your wings, nor will you be allowed to use your magic around them, unless in life or death situations, if it means protecting those living under this roof. If you prove yourself worthy, I may begin to train you. She nods as they enter the house. I'm home. His demeanor changes to his cheerful self, making Rainer wonder how he's able to hide his other side even better than she hid hers. A middle-aged woman emerges from down the hall, wearing an apron. Welcome home. I'm making dinner and… Who is this with you? I'm not ready to be a grandm. Mom, it's not like that. Yes, she's my girlfriend, but we decided to save that kind of intimacy until we get married. Isn't that right, darling? He attempts to tease Rainer as a reminder who's the dominant one in this relationship, but this only earns a stoic stare towards him. Right as she was about to say something, a man with graying hair and glasses strolls in. What's all the commotion? Issei has two young babes with him. My son will fulfill my harem dream in my stead. Mr. Hyoudu's victorious shout could be heard throughout the neighborhood. The noise wakes Asia, who cutely rubs an eye. Too loud. She blushes when she realizes Issei is carrying her bridal style, so he sets her down. Issei clears his throat. Mom. Dad. I'd like for you to meet Asia. How do you do? The blonde bows politely. And my girlfriend Rainer. I'll be in your care. The fallen angel follows suit. From now on, these two will be living here with me. I have my own ways, so don't ask, but I will provide for them. His parents were momentarily speechless before a stream of questions spewed out. How long do they plan to stay here? Indefinitely. When is the wedding? Mom, what are you talking about? It's far too early to think about such things. His mother quickly caught onto the fact that Issei is not actually as close to Rainer as she initially thought, or they have a strange way of showing their affection in front of her, but she didn't say anything. The rest of the night went by smoothly for Issei and Asia, but Rainer still felt awkward. Issei insisted that Asia use his bed when they sleep while he and his girlfriend use a couple futons. Do you have any spare clothes I can use, please? Rainer asked. Why do you need extra clothes? You should be grateful I spared you. It's hard to sleep if I am not at least in a pair of pajamas or shorts. Then just sleep in your underwear. Annoyed, Rainer glares at him. How rude. Is this how you're going to treat me when we get married? She teases, earning a blush from him. Ha. You're such a virgin. And you are? You're proud of freely giving it away to multiple guys like a prostitute. Hey, I've never had sex either. I meant you're a virgin in terms of your lack of tact when explaining things with the person who is supposed to be your significant other. What? I'm saying your social skills are trash, especially when talking to girls. Rainer smirks condescendingly, secretly enjoying this back and forth. Why you insolent little. Asia, who was watching them bicker from her spot on the bed, glared down at the boy and interrupted him. Issei-san. Asia. He stutters nervously at the disapproving tone in her voice. Rainer ni-sama has been nothing but kind to me, and so have you. Right before you came bursting into the lower level of the church, a different fallen angel was about to do the ritual that would have killed me, but Ms. Rainer saved my life. The least you could do is give her a couple spare change of clothes, if she has to be your servant. How did you know? I was pretending to be asleep when you threatened her. While I was tied to that cross, I thought if I closed my eyes, it would all be nothing more than a bad dream, you killing those devils and hurting your own former master. Immense guilt hit him that he scared the innocent nun. I'm sorry, Asia. Standing up, he looks down at Rainer, who is sitting on the floor with her arms crossed, frowning at him. I'm sorry to you, as well, Rainer. He forces himself to apologize. I'll get you a couple of men's booty shorts, since you feel comfortable showing off a little skin. Only comfortable doing it here. She mumbles. Soon, she changes out of her jeans and they all fell asleep. All except Issei, who'd sometimes glance over at Rainer and ponder over her contradicting actions early on in their relationship and how she behaves now. Just following orders. He scoffed bitterly. I need to sleep with an eye open. Maybe so, partner. I'll wake you if she tries anything. Soon, he also drifted off into his slumber. The next morning, they all wake up and get ready for school, although Issei is the first to be ready and has to wait for the ladies to come down. Asia and Rainer come down, and he can't help but think that they look stunning in the Kuo Academy girl's uniform. His mother said that she had those spares laying around, but why she saved them for this specific situation was beyond him. Asia still looks like a midget, but a cute one, and Rainer has her hair tied in a ponytail and is wearing thigh-high socks, the Zetai Ryaiki being very alluring. As they silently make their way to class, Issei mentally speaks with Drag. This is just a theory, Drag, but I think the reason why many of my classmates are afraid of me is because before I awakened you through my death, your aura would leak out in small portions, enough to make them wary or hateful. Perhaps, but what about the fact that many of your female peers find you attractive? Girls have looked at me in disgust for no reason too, not just guys. To this very day, human behavior still confuses me. Amen. The three soon enter his classroom, shocking most that he's with two beautiful girls. What's Hyoudou doing with those two new students? The girls pondered. Die. The boys back you good. Hello. Asia nervously began before the teacher could put them in the spotlight, surprising Issei that the timid girl would do such a thing. My name is Asia Argento. I'm Rainer Kadir. Asia and I are living with Issei for now. His parents took us in after we recently arrived in Japan. Issei shoots her an even more surprised look. Kadir means fall in Latin. She just came up with that on the spot. Plus, she didn't reveal herself as my supposed girlfriend. Maybe she isn't as stupid as I. He shakes his head. Scratch that, she still has yet to prove herself. The boys shouted more obscenities at Issei for entrapping two hot babes. Or at least the perverted duo did. Issei, how could you betray us like this? The bald freak shouted. My name isn't Issei to you. My last name is Off. First name is Fuck. We are not friends, got that? Rainer tried and failed to stifle a grin while Asia looked uneasy. Gossip soon began, and Rainer became the fourth girl to be added to the beauties of Kuo Academy alongside Rias, Akeno, and the Kaichu. Unlike the other three, Rainer has a don't talk to me unless you're Issei or Asia vibe. After school. Issei Hyoudou, you are summoned to the student council room immediately. Bring those two new students with you. A female voice announced over the intercom right as school ended as everyone turned to stare at the brunette. Sighing and ignoring the look sent his way, he got up and left the classroom with Rainer and Asia following. My guess is the student council is a front for another devil king and her peerage. Even in the human world, they love to flaunt their power. Now, Kaichu is going to try to interrogate me on why I brought a fallen angel and a girl with a sacred gear with me, and why I came home without my king, the Gremory bitch. Arriving at his destination, he detected multiple devils behind the closed door, but he isn't scared of anything in the supernatural at the moment, so he didn't hesitate slamming the door open, startling all the stucco. The girl with long black hair plus glasses and a blonde boy stood up and stared the three down, as if he and Rainer were threats. "What is up, Kaichu?" Sona Citri, much like the now deceased Akeno Himejima, the missing Rias Gremory, and the newest edition of Rainer, is one of the now 4 beauties of Kuo Academy. Much like the other 3, the student council president has an air of mystery. She's strict but still approachable among the female students. However, she can also unleash a rare calculating look meant to make the person under her scrutiny squirm. Now, the dragon in front of her is experiencing this look. "Hyoudou? What did you do?" "Squirm, he does not." "Whatever do you mean? Don't play dumb with me. I recently had a discussion with the 4 Mao. They tell me all 3 members of Rias' peerage were murdered in cold blood and that Rias isn't herself anymore after what happened." "Cold blood? Ha 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 ha." Issei cackles, putting them all on edge. "Hiya. That's funny. Now is the part where you and your underlings attack me while calling for reinforcements from the Mao, and when they arrive here, you tell them what I did, is that right?" An admission of guilt. Unexpected. "What guilt? Do I look like I have any fucking remorse?" The blonde shouts. "Hey. Watch your mouth when talking to Kaichu." He was ignored as Sona and Issei continue. "You know what I meant by guilt, so stop trying to make a fool out of me." "Semantics." He shrugs. "You were responsible. And I'd like to thank you." Sona eases her expression and grins. "This is surprising. What have I done to earn your favor, my lady?" Ignoring the growling blonde, Sona sighs in reminiscence. Rias was someone I had to pretend to be friends with so that her family and my family could remain close together, but quite frankly, she brought more trouble than she was worth. She was, at most, an ally, albeit a very useless one. Now that she's gone, less attention will be drawn to me from other high-class devils and devil politicians. I can now freely pursue my goal. This is an unexpected development. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Which is? To create a school in the underworld not governed by the devil society of old. There, I can create a system that is a true meritocracy for devils where those with potential, regardless of their social standing, can make actual progress without being held back by the elite. A noble goal, but a difficult one. Indeed. I do appreciate a good challenge. Sona's grin disappears as she sends unsavory looks towards his 2 companions. "I don't know what you are, Hyoudou, but you have some balls bringing a human with a sacred gear and a fallen angel into my territory, especially a fallen angel. Word travels fast, Rainer Kadir, if that's even your real name." Rainer answers cryptically. "It isn't. I see. That much is understandable. The exposure of our world to the humans would be catastrophic. Now, the question is how can I trust that you being here won't reignite the Great War?" "I won't, but the person who sent me to kill Issei certainly could." "Oh? And who would that be?" Sona questions, as if not believing the fallen. "Lord Kakabiel. The warmonger." Sona's disbelief vanishes instantly. "That actually makes sense." "It does?" Issei asks. This wasn't something Drake filled him in on, therefore a piece of information even Drake didn't know. All Drake knew was that Kakabiel is a cadre class fallen. Sona nods. "Yes. For thousands of years, Kakabiel is still remembered for his bloodlust, sadistically murdering countless angels and devils during the war. Why Azazel keeps him around is beyond me." Rainer scowls. "Azazel is incompetent. I'm not sure if there's anyone with as much wasted power as him. He could be doing so much to stop these little skirmishes that could restart the war from happening in the first place." Issei gives her another surprised look. "Are you a mind reader?" "You were thinking the same thing?" Rainer asks. He nods. Sona places a hand on her head in stress. "My apologies, fallen angel Rainer, for accusing you. You were just a pawn in someone else's game. You fallen would also not be the only ones to blame should this horrible conflict return. Sometimes, angels and devils attack each other in isolated incidents where an angel is trying to protect a human or person of interest, while the devil is attempting to seduce said person in some kind of way. The same can be said with angels and fallen angels as well as devils and fallen." Issei sighs. "A never-ending 3-way pissing contest. What a shit show." Rainer nods. "It makes no sense of them to get involved in any kind of way, the angels and fallen. Both have the fewest numbers of the 3 factions, while the devils fuck like donkeys in the streets." Sona replies. "Us devils are having trouble repopulating after the Great War and the Devil Civil War, hence the creation of the evil pieces system." The comfortable silence befell the occupants of the room, each lost in their own thoughts, with the exception of Sona's queen, Tsubaki, who is still on guard mode in front of the fallen and her master. Issei coughed. I obviously don't know how your society works, Kaichu, although I have an idea. The question is, why hasn't a peace treaty between the three factions been signed? Is it because of these minor incidents you mentioned? That, and the fact that Kakabeel, some arrogant older devil, would send a team to attack a meeting between the leaders whenever they'd attempt to sue for peace. Pausing, she narrowed her eyes, hesitating to speak. There's one more thing, Hyoudou and Rainer. Nasty rumors are stirring of an enemy forming with members of all three factions joining them. Boo. The terrorist group. We call them Cow's Brigade. At first, the information about them made them seem insignificant. Now, we have reason to believe that they are allies of members of the old Satans, and that they are a fully organized group that is just biding their time, waiting to strike. I'm curious who their leader is. They must be very patient, and someone that smart can only mean trouble. Do keep us posted on any news about this, Kaichu. A group dangerous enough to be acknowledged by and gained a foothold among the members of the three factions as a threat should not be taken lightly. One more thing. Rainer is my servant, and Asia stays with the two of us at all times. However, even though I distrust devils, you're alright in my book. Just promise me you'll keep my existence a secret. Sona nods. Don't worry, I will. The three leave, knowing they'll need to get even stronger to protect themselves. Asia, the sister figure of Issei that has healing powers. Fallen angel Rainer, the one he sees as a tool to be used for protecting those he cares most about, mainly his parents and Asia when he can't be there himself. And a being with such immense power that can kill gods. The other two are not as smart as Issei, but all three of them know they need to become stronger. Chapter 5. A journey of self-discovery. What does it mean to be truly intelligent? Is it getting good grades in school? No. Anyone can get good grades and still be stupid. Remembering shit one learns from textbooks is easy. Does intelligence only exist in those financially successful? No. Contrary to popular belief, Steve Jobs did not invent the smartphone. Instead, he was nothing more than an opportunist that sold others ideas, poor nameless, faceless scientists that had to figure out how to get music and books onto the very device you're probably reading this fanfiction on right now. There are plenty of rich elites that are not very bright. On the other hand, there have been many poor figures that were very intelligent, such as Van Gogh. To be intelligent means to have wisdom, the quality of having experience and good judgment. This usually pertains to people who pass on their knowledge to the next generations. In this day and age, knowledge is widespread, but wisdom is not. As a matter of fact, the very concept of wisdom is slowly disappearing with the passage of time due to the westernization of society that has resulted in disappearing cultures, lack of creativity, and destruction of family values. However, there are some exceptions to this trend, and Issei Hyoudou is one of them. Now, being intelligent does not mean being free from mistakes. He pondered if this girl he's staring at is one of them, or at least her continued existence. Fallen angel Rainer. In many ways, she remains an enigma. He remembers all the times older females would flirt with him and how women would make him uncomfortable with their teasing smirks and touchy-grabby paws that couldn't be kept to themselves. Somehow, Rainer is different. She teased him every now and then in a harmless manner, and she never flirted with him, touched him inappropriately, or made him feel very uncomfortable in any way. Her Yuma persona does not count for obvious reasons, as that was not her true self. But she did try to kill him, and for that, he'll occasionally send dirty looks her way. Rainer sighs as she lounges on the couch, putting her book on her lap to look at him. Okay, what's up? You've been glaring at me for a while. Nothing's wrong. I know you're angry at me still and don't trust me, but the least you could do is look somewhere else. Why? So you can attack me while I'm not looking. Glaring at him, Rainer bookmarks her novel and gets up, approaching him. Give me a chance to gain your trust or at least quell your hostility. How about you stay here and send Asia and I shopping? I'll get her back in one piece. No chance. You said you'd consider training me to get stronger if I prove myself, but you're not giving me any opportunities. I have to agree with her. I understand your trauma, partner, but if what the Citri devil suspects about this Cow's Brigade is true, then you three need to get stronger. I have a bad feeling that terrorists will end up being the least of your worries. See? Even Drake agrees with me. Asia comes downstairs and sleepily rubs an eye. What are you three talking about, Rainer Ni-chan? Drake and I were discussing how much of a control freak his host is. Seriously. I can't even step outside and go for a walk around the block to catch some rays and fresh air without this guy interrogating me. Rainer pouts. Issei shrugs. It's not my fault that everything about you is so suspicious. Asia, all I want is to prove myself and become stronger. How can I protect you if he won't let me? I can't even protect myself. The incident at the church proved that. Asia blinks before smiling at their argument. Drake-san, what is your opinion? Argento, I think my host is being stupid. Issei slumps to his knees. That hurts, Drake. I thought we were brothers. How about we vote? Who wants to get stronger here? All of them raised their arms as Issei's boosted gear manifested and lifted by itself to show what Drake has to say on the matter. Looks like a 3-1 tally. I want to get stronger too, actually. Soon, they found themselves at the base of a hiker's trail that leads up a valley of mountains. As your drill instructor, your goal is to run this path 3 miles up the mountain and 3 miles down in less than 18 minutes. You've got to be kidding me. That's impossible. Rainer shouts. Issei winces and feels annoyed by her voice, but a part of him has to agree with Rainer. When he trained before he was even born, he unlocked the video game equivalent of the basic and middle level skills on a skill tree, as well as his dragon shot, a very deadly last resort attack. He mastered control over his aura to hide his presence from most high-class beings. That didn't mean he trained physically under Drake. He ran around plenty and began using a treadmill by the time he was 7, but no one guided him. In short, Issei is currently equal to the level of a lower high-class devil. Hey, you wanted me to train you, and this is the bare minimum you should be able to do without magic. With magic, the strongest host I've ever had would be able to do this in less than 14 minutes. If you can't do this much, then you might as well give up and wait for your enemies to kill you. The reason I'm giving you such a difficult training regimen off the bat is because if you're going to dip your toes, you might as well go swimming. Asia trembles in fear at the daunting task, but Issei encourages the 3 of them by saying, if the 3 of us can get through this, I'll try to get along with you better, Rainer. No promises on my distrust, though. The blonde spirit lifts, and her ravenet friend nods. For them to be able to live in a less toxic home because Issei sees his girlfriend in a better light would be worth it. Taking off running, Asia felt like she would collapse after completing just half a mile. For her, there was no shame in finishing 3rd place, as long as she was right behind her 2 companions. Rainer was breathing hard 2 miles in. By the time she reached the summit, she was doing all she could to keep up with Issei, while also making sure Asia isn't left in the dust. Issei didn't even break a sweat until he hit the 4-mile mark. When they finished, he paced around while catching his breath. Drake. How did we do? 6 miles completed in 21 minutes. I'm tracking all 3 of your physical conditions, and the reason you couldn't finish in the time I required of you is because of Argento. She's the weak link in the group and is holding you back. Without her, you and Rainer would likely have hit the 18-minute mark per my instructions. If one of you fails, then I'm going to force all of you to repeat the 6 miles. Rainer is about to complain, but Issei stops her. The fastest humans in the world, Olympic athletes as well as soldiers from the United States Marine Corps and Navy SEALs, could do what we're doing in less time. It's as Drake said, the strongest supernatural entities could do this significantly faster. Exactly. I'm training both your endurance and speed. Run it again. Issei is stoic while Rainer stifles a groan. Asia frowns, tired but now more determined to succeed. This time, they complete the 6-mile run in 18 minutes, barely enough to please Drake. All 3 of them collapse in exhaustion once they reach the finish line, the same place they started. After half an hour of recovering their strength, they get up and turn right, following Issei into a darker part of the valley, a pine forest obscuring some sunlight, and they set up a tent to camp there. They decide to train for a total of 10 days. Drake's schedule is as follows. Day 1. 6-mile run. Day 2. Magic training. Days 3 to 5. 6-mile run plus magic training. Day 6 to 7. Magic training. Days 8 to 10 6-mile run plus magic training. Asia would test out her barrier magic with her sacred gear, healing from a distance while putting up walls of protection. Issei would momentarily use Drake's flames, only for them to go out, although the duration he could use them would up a lot. One time during a spar, Rainer unexpectedly used frost magic, the most powerful form of ice magic, to defend herself against Issei's flames. She'd throw massive boulders of ice at him before tiring out and surrendering. He grinned. Your attacks are very potent. However, you need to learn how to better control them. She nodded, panting for air, her body slightly scratched and singed, wounds that Asia healed. As for Issei's magic, he could boost more, and his fire breath got hotter, the range of his attacks increased, and his reserves went up. As a matter of fact, all their reserves went up. Late at nights, he'd quietly play chess with Rainer to test her wits while Asia sleeps. She knew the rules of chess, but of course, she'd never win. Against anyone else, she'd stand a far better chance, but Issei is a monster of logic. Sometimes, he'd sleep with both of his eyes open, which would creep Rainer out as he'd stare in her general direction. She'd wave a hand in his face, only to receive no response. He'd softly snore like this to let her know he's truly asleep. One night, he'd guard the tent while the 2 ladies slept. He wasn't sure why he felt the need to do this, but his senses were far better honed now to tell him that sleeping tonight would be a mistake. He wasn't sure why he was paranoid. By the final day of training, they could run the 6 miles in 16 minutes and 30 seconds through sheer determination, despite the immense pain filling their lungs and legs. They decide to not go home on the final day, but instead rest up. As Issei is about to follow the girls into the tent, thinking about how worried his parents must be, he catches sight of an opening in the side of the mountain that would normally be difficult to spot from his angle. He freezes. That wasn't there before. Issei. Rainer wonders why he isn't coming in to rest with them. Placing a finger to his mouth, he shushes her and turns his attention back towards the cave. Drowning out surrounding distractions, he focuses his draconic senses on whatever lies within. Issei. The Fallen whispers. She may not be strong nor on his level of intelligence, but she knows when an animal is trying to sense danger, and right now, the dragon in front of her is like a jungle cat about to pounce on something she cannot see. Ignoring her, he reaches out even further with his senses and hears something. Rrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Turning around, he was about to wake Asia, only to see her staring intently at him right next to the only other female. Upon seeing the startled look on his face, the blonde immediately began casting invisible protection barriers that envelop around the three of them individually. Something is in that cave. It's not good. Drake. Strays. They're much weaker than you, but there's tens of thousands of them. Argento is better than both of you at defensive barrier magic, but she can't protect herself too well. In a fight to the death, she virtually has no attacks. I'll stay with her while she protects you from a distance. Rainer offers. Issei nods. I'll wait for you two to get to that plateau that overlooks the cave. It's nearly 100 feet above, so you should hopefully be safe. Go. They nod and leave him, arriving to their destination not a minute later. As this was happening, the growling and flapping of wings got louder and louder. Issei's senses screamed that something huge was going towards the two girls, who are now visible to something in the cave. Rainer. His screams alert her. From her peripheral field of view, she saw dozens of dark spears exit the cave and fly towards her, so without thinking, the fallen thrust her hand forward and out shot a chilling gust of wind that threw the dark spears back towards the cave. Some of the projectiles missed while others pierced flesh, earning howls of pain and anger. The sound was music to her ears, but it was short-lived as the earth shook. Shit. Issei, I think we just awoke the hive. Looks like I have no choice. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker. The legendary red armor covered him from head to toe, and pulling out his sword, early retirement, he coated it in his aura, giving it an eerie dark red glow. Asia never stopped casting defensive spells on the three, even while making her way up the plateau. Her actions may very well have saved their lives because of the insanity that follows. The earth shook even more violently, causing the ground Issei was standing on to open up and give way. One would think this would cause a landslide, but he quickly connected the dots that someone else put magic in place that would prevent the domain of these strays from being annihilated by nature, as not even a single pebble fell through the grassy clearing. Out came countless stray devils, some floating in the air, some crawling without wings. Those without wings are slower in their movement, but their appearance is far more horrifying, their bodies intermingled with creatures of the earth, as if they somehow committed bestiality, some having spider legs, others moth torsos with the way they'd move up the mountain wall, some with wasp stingers, and some even having the bodies of tarantula wasps. Some had pulsating bellies of beetles. Some the small but fearless bodies of honey badgers. Then there were some with snake bodies and fangs, hissing at the red dragon. Hahaha. Snakes. Mini dragons without wings. How cute. Issei giggled. Battle maniac. Keep your head clear. I have not fought such numbers since the Great War, so don't get cocky. I know, Drake. I'm laughing because laughter is the best mechanism to cope with stress. That's why I don't go to the movie theaters, I cackle when someone is murdered in those horror films. That's why I watch that shit at home to not disturb the peace. They're kinda psychotic. Perhaps. Lunging forward, Issei decides to take care of the winged strays first, starting with a stab into one female stray's chest, startling the rest. They roared as they attempted to attack him. Some launched dark spears, others attempted to punch, claw, and bite at him. Issei effortlessly evaded the ones attacking in groups of 5, dispatching them quickly, but any more than that started to become difficult. As Rainer saw this, she used a constant frosty gust to keep the wingless strays on the ground with one hand, while she used the other to occasionally kill one attempting to come at her and Asia, or pick off the one she rendered immobile. For every stray Issei killed, it felt like 2 or 3 more took their place, slowly building his worry and frustration. Unleashing a massive torrent of fire he breathed, killing several dozen, he jumped back to assess the situation. Drake, how many are left? That's the first wave. There's still thousands too many for me to count the exact amount. Their exhaustion from their earlier training in the morning was catching up to them, although Issei has far more stamina than the other two, but even he was beginning to feel the soreness of his muscles return. More and more poured out, so he put away his sword and decided to go for hand-to-hand combat to be even faster in his attacks. Dragon shot. He roared as he lined up several in a row and blew them away, not bothering to keep track of how many he took out. Rainer began dropping the biggest frozen boulders she could muster into the hole the strays emerged from, earning bone-chilling shrieks. The snake-shaped stray managed to get behind Issei and bite his leg, making him yelp at the contact. Luckily, he wasn't wounded, but he felt one of Asia's barriers disappear, so he crushed the devil beneath his armored boot as more of the snakes and spiders flanked his blind spots, forcing him to turn his attention to the wingless strays. Dragon shot. Dragon shot. Dragon shoot. He screamed at the top of his lungs, killing everything in his path. Your mana is dwindling, partner. I noticed. Grabbing two strays, he smashed their heads together into a third one and kicked a wingless one down the hole along with several corpses, smashing into more incoming strays, killing or severely injuring them. The massive man-sized wasp swept down and slammed its stinger into ground. He was just in right as he jumped away after slicing it in two with his sword before putting it away. Pissed off, Issei decided to take a gamble. Unfurling his draconic wings, he got off to a running start before jumping over to the other side of the hole in the ground while unleashing as many dragon shots as he could in the ground below. Issei, this is getting out of hand. Rainer shouts. I think we should retreat. No. If we do, someone else will stumble on this place and get killed, plus these strays will only breed with each other and multiply in numbers. We need to end this now. Always thinking of helping others. Rainer muttered, not sure whether to feel disappointment or admiration. The battle went on for hours. More and more of his barriers went down. Finally, the strays managed to land a direct hit with couple dark spears. One hit him in the leg and one got him in the left arm. He roared in agony and fury. Issei. Rainer shouts in worry. Issei-san. Asia follows. Images of his mother's smiles in their happy moments and her tears if her baby got hurt flashed through his mind. What would she think if he were to die? No, he refuses to allow it. Greg. He screams. Just 1,000 left. Hang in there. The ancient dragon channeled as much of his strength to his host as he could. Having seen enough of his pain, Rainer puts her hands on a massive boulder and channels her newfound powers into it, turning the rock into ice. Seeing this, Issei grinned. I have an idea, Rainer. You push that thing into the hole. And you smash it into several smaller fragments. Great minds think alike. He limped up the plateau beside her as Asia healed his wounds while he fired off smaller balls of flames to get rid of the stray reinforcements. You ready? The fallen asked. He nods. Together, they put their shoulders into the rock and body checked it. The piece of earth was just small enough to fit inside the hive. Jumping down and flying as fast as he could after the below-freezing limestone, Issei coated his sword with almost all his remaining magical reserves and stabbed into the rock, breaking it into thousands of smaller projectiles, flying at hundreds of miles per hour. Screams of pain and death filled the air. He knew the angel of death would be busy delivering their souls back to hell after that one. Rainer, there's barely 100 left. Get down here and help me finish them. Asia, stay where you are. Following his command, the fallen carefully glided down into the hole. Even her magical power is waning, so she decided to keep the frost attacks as a last resort and instead go back to using only light spears. As they raised hell, one of the normal strays snuck up on her, jumped onto her back, and sunk its teeth into her soft neck, nearly severing an artery had she not reacted in time by stabbing it with her spear over her shoulder. Fuck you. Rainer curses loudly, angry that she got caught off guard like that. Only a couple dozen strays were left, but they were quickly disposed of. Panting for air, Issei gave Rainer a minute, sweat dripping down their bodies, before saying, we need to burn their bodies. What? Why? I've seen and read enough anime and movies to know not to risk a necromancer resurrecting them. Weirdo. But maybe you're right. Shaking her head, she followed his lead. They pushed the corpses and limbs still intact down the hole. It took them a couple hours, and by now, the sun was almost completely beneath the horizon, so they knew they needed to hurry up before any other supernaturals come to investigate the disturbance. Once a couple thousand bodies and body parts were piled up, Issei used the last of his mana to breathe fire onto the wall of flesh they built. He waited till it was completely gone before he gestured to Rainer to put out the flames with her frost before it spreads to the whole mountain range. Collapsing on the ground, he pants for air and looks at her. I'm fucking exhausted. You'll need to pack our tent and belongings. Blinking, she sighs and walks off while mumbling. When will this day end? Soon after, she also uses the last of her magic to teleport them in front of their house. Entering their home, Issei Hyoudou comes barreling to her son and hugs him tight. Where were you? Wait, are you injured? What happened? Asia looks at him apologetically. Unfortunately, while her sacred gear can heal, it doesn't instantly make scars disappear, especially fresh ones. I'm fine, Mom. Just a few minor cuts and burns. We went camping in the mountains. Didn't I tell you? No. She looks at him skeptically while her husband stands back, careful not to intervene with her smothering and fussing over their child. Oh. Sorry, I thought I mentioned it, but maybe it slipped my mind. Anyway, there was a huge wildfire where we camped, so I helped put it out. Rainer chimed in. He did it on his own. You should have seen him. He was shouting about how he won't let this spread to our home and hurt the people he cares about. He turns to her with a scowl, knowing she's teasing him about him, saying that today was their only chance to take care of those strays before they hurt anyone else. Really? You were so brave then, my sweet boy. Mrs. Hyoudu's eyes light up before turning serious. But next time, tell us where you're going and be more careful. I will, Mom. Sorry that I made you too worry. His father said nothing and simply gave him a relieved sigh and a head pat when he walked past him. They ate their dinner and went upstairs to their room. Asia frowns when she sees Issei lay in his futon. Issei-san, I insist you take the bed. Not that I don't appreciate your hospitality, but I never wanted it in the first place. After what happened today, you deserve it a lot more than I do. Not wanting to argue, he gets up and collapses in the bed. Before he can sleep, Drake voices his criticism of their actions. I have some tips for the next time you three get into a fight to the death. First of all, Rainer, you need to have a better control over your emotions. Near the end of the fight, you cursed that you were ambushed, but you need to be able to keep a level head at all times, otherwise, one momentary lapse of judgment can cost you not just your life, but also the lives of your allies. Rainer looks down, ashamed that she let that happen, placing a hand to her neck where she was bitten, but she nods. I have no criticisms for Argento, but you, partner, do not have enough magical reserves to go on like this. If you can barely handle that many low-level strays, then what chance do you have against any higher strays or more powerful beings of any sort that mean you harm? Well, your physical training is important. I now realize that you need to focus even more on your magic than anything. He simply nods, too tired to argue, even if he wanted to. Thank you, Drake. Hey, what are friends for? I keep you in check like this. Right now, the dragon wouldn't admit it, but he already loved Issei like a brother, more than he'd cared about anyone else, so seeing him get hurt angered Drake. Issei nods and soon after falls asleep. The Duke of Beelzebub was running tests on Rias Gremory's wounds. He sighs when his tests finish. Combined with his magic and his inventions, the results were evident. Well? Surziches asked. The green-haired devil sighs. Do you want the good news first or the bad news? Bad news. Well, with the means we have now, there's no feasible way of recovering her memory, at least to tell us who did this to her. Good news is that there is an aura in her wounds left by the attacker's weapon. It's draconic. Surziches had mixed feelings. On one hand, there was a slight sense of dread that the dragon that took out Ria's peerage and obviously spared his sister's life could be very powerful. On the other, they narrowed down the possible list of suspects from stray devils and members of the three factions to just one species. Well, it's better than nothing. We have a lead. All that's left is finding the bastard that did this to her. Chapter 6. Governor. Incompetence. The inability to do something successfully. Automatically, who or what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it the idiots working in fast food restaurants that can't get your order right? Is it Hollywood's woke agenda that prevents them from making good movies like they used to? While those are true, the most common example of incompetence is the people in positions of power, mostly politicians. Sometimes, their incompetence means they're too lazy to do anything right. Other times, it's that they're just outright malicious and therefore incompetent at doing what's in the best interest of their people. Now, why oh why, you must be asking yourself, does this version of Rainer see her leader, Governor Azazel, as incompetent? That's because unlike the shitty canon light novel, this version isn't one-dimensional and isn't as useless as the other Rainer, nor is she a beta female simp. She smirked to herself at her thoughts as she sat directly behind Issei in class, both of them staring out the window. It's not that she dislikes Azazel at all, but rather finds his obsession with science and sacred gears to be too much for her liking, so all she can do is smirk or grin awkwardly whenever the leader would talk, more so to himself. If fallen angel Rainer, or Rainer Kadir as she likes to refer to herself among humans, were to take an IQ test, she'd measure between 160 to 170. That's nothing special, but is also nothing to scoff at. The average American's IQ is 100 at best, and the average Japanese citizen's IQ is 106. However, IQ is nothing more than a number of one's logical potential. If they don't put their mind to good use and make something of themselves, then what's the point? She's doing all she can to learn from the boy, her boyfriend. They still haven't addressed their love life, and if they truly feel anything for each other, while also strangely not having rid themselves of this term and some occasional teasing that borders flirtatious behavior, even though their hearts don't exactly skip and master seated in front of her. Everything from playing chess to his mannerisms with others, the vocabulary he uses, how he fights in battle, which she recently witnessed against an army of stray devils, and even aided him to the best of her ability, and the way he carries himself. In short, Issei Hyoudou is anything but incompetent, and she hopes to learn all she can as his student and to apply it in practice. The times they'd spar became more and more ferocious, although she'd never win and he'd never go all out since he doesn't want to kill her. The couple of times, their spars would end up with him holding back and setting a max power level that matches hers so perfectly that they'd go at it for hours. Eventually, they'd give up or they'd end up being so tired and making a mistake that would end up with their bodies intertwined as they'd stumble and crash into the ground on each other's laps or his face in her large breasts. She'd look at him in surprise as he'd quickly remove himself, look to the side while scowling but blushing, knowing that he made himself feel awkward and that she'll tease him. It certainly made Issei suspicious that he'd done that on more than one instance. Rainer would accuse him of being a pervert playfully as he'd glare at her and deny it. Though deep down, they both knew he probably has a perverted side to him since he is a hormonal 15-year-old teenage boy. However, as things stand right now, she'd still spar with him and fight alongside him. Issei is her best chance of weathering any storm coming their way. If only things were that simple and she knew the issues they'd face along the way. The school bell rung to indicate the end of school and the beginning of club hours, snapping her out of her thoughts. Earth to Rainer. Hello. Issei snapped his fingers in her face, Asia standing beside him, grinning at her. Wah. Didn't you hear what I said? We're going to the student council. Right. Lead the way. The three kept getting various looks from their classmates. Jealous guys, girls crushing on Issei but glaring at the other two, some just silently cheering them on, and others that don't care. Arriving at the student council room, this time he had the courtesy to knock before coming in, especially knowing that Sona is now an ally. Hyoudou. Rainer and Argento too. What can I do for you? I'd like to start my own club. I want it to be kept top secret between us that no one else knows about it. Keep it off the record, please. Oh? Sure. Fill out this form then. What will you call it? Sona hands him a sheet and watches him with interest as he fills it out. The Supernatural Investigation Club, or SIC for short. I'm the president, Rainer is the vice president, and Asia is our mascot. He smirks. The name is an insult to the Gremory girl, eh? Rainer raises an eyebrow. Yep. Someone's gotta do what she couldn't, which is to actually find out things about the supernatural that high-class spoiled little princesses like her would likely never find out, such as with our recent escapade in the mountains. Tsubaki stuffs the form into a locked filing cabinet that no one but Sona and her can access. Speaking of escapades and mountains. Sona sighs. There are reports floating around of a being or multiple beings that murdered thousands of stray devils in a shockingly small area. Was that you? Damn right it was. Watch your mouth with Kaichu. Saji simps. Kindly shut your filthy sower. Issei growls at him, making him flinch in fear at his aura. Hyoudou. Sona returns his attention back to her. What you did in the mountains was a tremendous help, as you may have saved many lives, but you've also sent a panic among the three factions, mainly among the devils, since this was supposed to be Rias territory, and those mountains are quite near Kuo. They're scared, wondering what kind of powerful monster could have taken out so many strays. Good. I hope they died of fear. I wouldn't be surprised given how soft your people, obviously not referring to your family to be specific, have become given how they haven't seen war in thousands of years. Not that war is a good thing, but it keeps people from becoming senile. Sona's expression softens. Getting up, she gently places a reluctant hand on his shoulder, making him flinch and glare at her limb in distrust instinctually, because she's both a devil and a female. He soon relaxes, knowing it's Sona, so it should probably be fine, but his past experiences with females and devils have been anything but good, so that part of him might never change. Hyoudou, I know you distrust us devils a lot given what happened with Rias, but I just want to apologize on her behalf. It's fine. He forcefully smirks. I got revenge, so all's well that ends well. She frowns. You're downplaying your trauma. I'm fine, so please drop the subject. He grits his teeth painfully. The sting of being forced into Ria's peerage is so fresh, his hand instinctively going up to his lower abdomen, where a keno stabbed him to thrust him into his short life as a devil. Noticing the movement but not commenting on it, Sona sighs but nods. If you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. I'm not just the Kaichu, leader of this school's students. I'm supposed to take care of my own. That's what you see me as? One of your own? Yes. I can't say that for all students, nor do I go out of my way to help everyone with their personal grievances. What happened to you was very unfair. You're too kind. Issei looks down, not sure he deserves this. Even now, a small part of him feels remorse for what he did to Rias and her peerage, but that's the human side of him. He knows they deserved it, but a tiny amount of guilt remains, not because he'll act on it, but because he has a heart and feels for even those who hurt him. Looking back at it, he wishes he could have at least not chosen to kill Kiba. Maybe things could have been different and the two would end up being friends. Other than Drake, Issei has no male buddies, and the only people outside his own family he now cares about are Asia and Sona, both being girls. Seeing this interaction and as if able to tell what he's feeling because she observed him for a while, Rainer isn't sure what to do or say. Her target she was supposed to assassinate is a much more complicated individual than she could have imagined. "Are you okay?" she whispers. Something akin to guilt hit her, not sure what the feeling is. He scowls. "Why would you care? Someone like you is always after something. There's always an ulterior motive." He was very tempted to say girls instead of someone like you. But he didn't want to offend everyone present as most of the student council comprises of the opposite gender. Rainer turns her gaze down, looking thoroughly ashamed. Whenever he'd make these snide remarks, a piece of her ice-cold facade she'd have around most would chip away. Sighing and forcing a grin on his face, Issei says. "Anyway Kaichu, will I be needing my own designated place for club activities?" Sona stares for a moment between the boy and his fallen companion, wondering if he's really okay. "Normally, I'd say yes, but because it's you, I'd prefer you lay low. If you were to even try to use the Orcs building to add further insult to their name, I think you'd probably blow your cover. Lord Lucifer is looking for you, despite not knowing who you are." He nods and begins heading home, all the while Asia and Rainer are silently contemplating how to get Issei to really open up. On the way home, Issei decided to take a longer route a little ways away from most of the city. They came across two grassy hills with a small river in the middle and a bridge between them. Sitting in the basin is a man that made them stop in their tracks, his magical signature so powerful that even Asia can sense it. The man is wearing black sweatpants and a red trench coat, and he has black hair with blonde bangs. Rainer's eyes widen in surprise. "Lord Azazel. What are you doing here?" Azazel, who was sitting there and smoking weed while staring off into the horizon, turns to Issei and pats the spot next to him. "Please sit, Issei Hyoudou. We have much to discuss." "I'd rather not. You distrust me, and rightfully so, but allow me to apologize on Kakabiel's behalf. Did you know about what that guy was doing right under your nose?" Azazel sighs. "Yes." Issei tenses up and growls at the man, but this time, he exercises self-restraint unlike when he attacked Rias. Details. "Now. You've got balls, kid, making demands of a leader-class being." Putting out the cigarette by stomping on it, Azazel stands to face him. "Allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm Governor Azazel. I'd like to apologize." Actions speak louder than words. "You want forgiveness? Prove it to me. Like how you've forgiven my subordinate, and by forgive, I mean treat her like shit. Then sure." Azazel tries to point out the flaw in his logic. "Are you saying Rainer works for you?" "She did. Kakabiel made many requisitions years ago, one of which was to transfer Rainer under his command, promising to repay me with tools he knew I'd find interesting to experiment on. At the time, I had no reason to deny his request nor suspect him of any kind of treachery. Let me guess, he deceived you?" Azazel nods. "Unfortunately, yes. I should have seen the signs that he was building up an army of rogues. His agents infiltrated my chain of command perfectly. You truly are incompetent." Ignoring the insult, Azazel places a hand on his chin as he walks in a circle around the boy, looking intently at his left arm. "So it's not a twice critical. Has to be a longinus, and very few longini sacred gears are unaccounted for." He spoke to himself. "Given how he tore up the church and how distinct his aura is, I believe he is the Red Dragon Emperor." Annoyed, Issei snaps. "I believe I don't give a fuck. You're just like the others, no different from those power-hungry devil whores." Azazel chuckles, earning a death glare. "Well, you're not wrong. The difference is I'm not trying to kill you to force you to work for me. Then why else are you here? Listen kid, I know the Grimory's older brother, Serzich's, and he won't stop hunting you until you're dead. Let him try. I'm afraid you don't understand. The guy is among the top 10 most powerful beings in the supernatural world in terms of sheer power alone, and I'm not talking about political power, although he has plenty of that, which means plenty of allies to help him kill you. To make matters worse, he's a cis-con. How is that worse than basically? Well, the extents to which Serzich's would go to for Rias are boundless, and none of you have siblings or have ever known love." Issei scoffs. "Don't associate me with this bitch as if we have something in common. My parents are all I need, and Asia is my first and only friend. Rainer's hair covers her eyes. Upset, she growls out. I said I'd do anything for you since you spared me, but to insult me in front of my own kin like that. I'm done following you for now. Only call upon my services if it's urgent. She couldn't contain the sorrow in her voice. She runs away, not listening to Asia crying out her name. Despite what she did to him, Rainer somehow feels betrayed. Why should I care what that emotional boy says about me? Issei makes no attempt to stop Rainer, but he feels confusion and anger seeing Asia run after the fallen, as if the blonde somehow chose her over him. Partner, your anger is understandable, but that was too far. Azazel whistles, as if it were all impressive entertainment to him. What teen drama. Also, it's good to hear your voice again, Drake. Rainer is not teen girl. She's a grown fucking woman that should know better. She's just over 3,000 years old, which in fallen angel terms puts her at your age of 15 in human years. We live very long lives. It's not our fault it takes us so long to mature. Blame Lucifer. She should have lived a life of being less of a waste of space and more of a contributor to society. And how does it take 3,000 years to mature? Because that's the way it is. All I'm saying is have a heart, kid. We all make mistakes, and Rainer's was being young and naive enough to trust Cacabiel. Yes, I should have kept a tighter leash on Cacabiel, and yes, Rainer should have come to me to tell me what he was up to, but she was mostly innocent. Her actions are still hers, but what is she to do but obey a cadre class being? Azazel's logic was so perfect that it pissed off Issei. I literally helped the Grimoire kill some of your people at the church, so why are you being nice to me? What is it you want? Alright, how about this? As a way of proving myself and how apologetic I am, I'll finally get off my ass and do something by not becoming an ally of the devil faction. I'll still try to go through with a peace treaty, and the keyword is try since it takes effort from all three sides, but an alliance is off the table. If a peace treaty happens, whatever issues the devils have are theirs to deal with, not mine. Issei can only stare at him in shock. You're serious? I am. Also, I'll let you in on something huge, and that's that I am raising the other heavenly dragon. I don't even know what to make of that. Is that good or bad? It depends on if the two of you end up fighting or becoming allies, maybe even brothers in arms, although that is unlikely given the history between Drake and Albion. Indeed. Albion is water to my fire, the night to my day. We're polar opposites. What say you, kid? Azazel smirks. Seeing the brunette lost in thought, Azazel scribbles something down and hands the piece of paper to the dragon. Here's my number in case you ever need help as well as these coordinates. Snapping out of it, Issei looks at him suspiciously. Coordinates. Where to? The Japanese shrine. I've been to plenty of those. I go every New Year's Eve with my parents. Not this one. If you go to this one, you'll receive the help you need for your psyche, and maybe, with this person's help, you'll finally decide what it is you want and how you'll deal with your personal issues. I have no personal issues. Issei snarls. Rainer says otherwise. Annoyed, Issei sighs. Who is this person you speak of that will help me anyway? They said they won't help you unless I keep their identity a secret. Issei laughs in disbelief. Of course. You may hate me now, but when you meet this person, you'll thank me later. Azazel turns and waves without looking as he walks away. Chapter 7. Unholy Confessions. Rainer ran over the hills until she was sure she was out of sight, only stopping once she heard a familiar voice. Rainer-sama. Asia caught up to her, and Rainer didn't want to face her or anyone for that matter. But she does. She looks at the blonde with conflict in her eyes. Rainer-sama. Remember Asia. And he that killeth a man shall be put to death. Leviticus 24:17. Rainer chuckles bitterly. Do you honestly believe that shit, Asia? I believe in God, as I am his creation, but the Bible is mostly man-made, a reflection of humanity's corruption. What if someone were to kill out of self-defense or to protect his or her people or nation in a war? Not that that's what I was doing, but those still fall under murder. Do they also deserve to be put to death? Are you saying you should have died for attempting such a thing? They begin walking side by side. I honestly don't know. Issei-san isn't being nice to you. It wasn't nice of me to try to kill him, even if I was just following orders. You believe you deserve to be mistreated in return? I do. A pained expression morphs onto Rainer's face as she grits her teeth when she remembers Issei's words. Yet at the same time, I couldn't stand there and take it. It's ironic. Asia frowns. The Bible teaches forgiveness. I think deep down, Issei wants to forgive and trust you, but he put up a prideful front because he's afraid of being hurt again. Anger and pride are satanic traits, so I hope he doesn't let them take over his life. As they got home in low spirits, Mrs. Hyoudou asked where Issei is, and they responded that he won't be coming back soon. I hope he doesn't. Rainer glares at her own feet. Vicky sighs. Seriously, what am I to do with that boy? Well, whatever happened between you three, just know that I'm always here if you want to talk. As this is happening, Issei spends a couple days aimlessly wandering around the downtown area of Kuo before he masks his aura and flies towards his destination, the coordinates that Azazel gave him. Kumamoto City, Kyushu Island, Japan. It may not look like it from the outside, but this city has a population of more than 700,000, so Issei can only hope that the place is away from unnecessary attention. As he got closer and closer to his destination, he's relieved to see that the mysterious person he's meeting is at the edge of the city limits by a mountain range. It's a 3-story Japanese castle, and inside it, he senses someone with massive levels of power, putting the young dragon on edge. He lands and stares at the entrance to the old building for a bit. Drake, who is that? That power feels like a dying star about to go supernova. It's so potent yet so well controlled. I'm not sure, but stay vigilant. Slowly opening the door to the shrine, he nervously calls out. Hello? Checking his corners, he freezes as he realizes that looking to the side could be a mistake. The source of the power he feels is right in the middle of the room. A man dressed almost fully in samurai military armor is sitting in the middle of the room, his helmet next to him and his katana in front of him on the floor. He has his eyes closed as he meditates. Issei studies the man's appearance. He has a samurai goatee and mustache, long hair tied into a man bun, a chiseled jawline, and an extremely well-built physique even under his armor, as it struggles to contain the dangerous beast within. The man is meditating. A part of the dragon wants to interrupt him, but he knows it would be unwise to disturb his concentration, given how no one has that kind of power and dresses like that, clearly meaning business. Several minutes pass before the man opens his eyes and stoically looks at Issei. What business do you have here, Sekiryuite? His voice is deep yet graceful, threatening yet peaceful, intimidating yet serene, as if to say that violence will be his last resort, but he isn't afraid to use it. Azazel sent me. Be seated. The man politely commands him with gesture, forcing the dragon to sit down facing him. Then, the man resumes meditation, mildly annoying Issei. After another minute, Issei can't take it anymore. Well, what? You already know who I am. Aren't you going to introduce yourself? You have an idea what I'm capable of, but if you knew who I am, you'd either attack me and die in the process or you'd leave. Dragons hate my kind. I choose to not tell you what I am since I am curious why you're here. I already have an idea what you are. If you're a god, you don't have to say what you're a god of. Please just give me your name so we can get down to business. My name is Hachiman. The man stares him down, trying to judge what his reaction will be. Issei gulps nervously. Hachiman, the Japanese god of war. What the fuck did you get me into, Azazel? I see. So you know who I am and you don't attack me, nor do you run away in the face of danger. This is interesting. Why did Azazel send you to me? Doesn't that crow know that dragons and gods don't get along? What about dragon gods? Issei asks half-jokingly, earning an eyebrow raise. You'd have to ask Great Red or Bahamut for their opinions. Not that you'll find them. No one can. Hachiman sighs. Anyway, it's obvious that training with you would be pointless. Why is that? Only dragons as powerful as you or more powerful can help you get stronger the quickest. I'm a lesser known Shinto deity, but among my pantheon, I am known as one of the more experienced gods, so I assume Azazel wants me to teach you something that isn't to train you, but to impart wisdom. So, tell me what it is that troubles you. Issei looks down with a troubled expression as he recalls what he last said to Rainer. Well, you see, there's this girl. Wait a second, Azazel sent you here so that I can teach you about love. It's not like love. Me, the Shinto kami of conflict that results in bloodshed. Hachiman facepalms as he chuckles, his laughter slowly devolving into amused cackles. Ha 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 ha. Has that fallen angel governor gone senile? Ha 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 ha. Issei glares at him as he wipes away tears of joy. I might just strangle Azazel the next time I see him. Sorry. Continue. Hachiman returns to stoic expression as he stares at the dragon. I was saying that it's not love, but it almost was. Issei elaborates, sounding unsure of himself. What's that supposed to mean? Another sigh escapes Issei. This fallen angel girl disguised herself as human and asked me out, but she was only after something. At the end of our one and only date, she tried to kill me. She failed, but someone else succeeded, the queen of the Grimoire Devil. It didn't last long as I found a way out of her peerage. It turns out the fallen was ordered to take me out, so I forced a fallen angel that attacked me to serve me. After that, I thought things were going relatively well, but I was still angry about the way she manipulated me, so I insulted her. I called her a bitch, she ran away, and then I ended up here. Sounds like you bottled up your emotions before letting them out in the worst kind of way possible at the time. Issei nods and looks down. I do feel ashamed. Even though I'm no longer a human nor a devil anymore, the human part of me will always remain, the bit of my conscience that tells me that what I did was wrong, and yet I pushed her away because. You have trust issues, I take it. Trust issues both with girls and with devils. Your very first experience with either of them was too much, and you're now afraid of opening yourself up to another person again save for other men. I guess. Issei shrugs and shifts uncomfortably. Let me tell you something. I was once married to a mortal woman. Her name was Fayuko. Her name means winter child, and she lived up to her name. I fell in love with her and wanted her badly. She was as cold as ice at first, but I was eventually able to woo her. We had our fair share of issues, but we worked through them. She grew old and died. I don't remember when I last saw her, but it must be thousands of years by now. Don't you miss her? Of course I do, but I carry on believing that there's reincarnation. Everything dies and is reborn, and through rebirth shall I be reunited with the woman I love. My point is that as a dragon, you will live a very long time barring any acts of God or foolishness on your part, and since you were born human, you should do your best to let go of those you love, but not this fallen girl. My parents. How could I ever distance myself from them, especially the woman who gave me life? Danger will always come your way, Red Dragon, for many will act against you out of envy, fear, or other irrational reasons. In the crossfire, those you care about could get hurt or even killed. If you don't want that to happen, the best way to protect them is by dissociating yourself from them. Hearing this, Drake's eyes widen, now realizing that the reason so many of his past hosts would perish in battle is because they were either too weak or they'd jump in without thinking to protect those they love. He doesn't want that for Issei. Not only does Issei have the most potential out of any host he's ever had, but he is someone Drake cares deeply for more than he has anyone. Unlike most boosted gear wielders, Issei doesn't treat Drake like a tool to make him powerful. The boy sees him as a person and respects him, and for that, he loves Issei like a brother. It certainly makes it easier to care for the boy seeing how kind he can be yet how emotionally damaged he is because of Rainer and Rias. He can forgive the fallen since she failed to strike down Issei, and because there's a spark of potential romance between them, but the greedy red bitch and her brother are a whole nother shitstorm. When Issei was born, Drake placed 3 seals on his magical power to contain what was untamable, so that other factions wouldn't discover him. Soon, he'll have to remove one of these seals since he mastered his aura long ago and can conceal himself. Issei struggles with what Hachiman said. The idea of rarely or never seeing his parents was tough enough, but he had long since accepted that he was born into a cruel, uncaring world. Okay, but what should I do about the fallen I insulted? She may have tried to kill me, but she didn't deserve to be insulted, I think. Most people deserve a second chance, even some would-be murderers. Every person has tests in life, and one of yours is reconciliation. If you can't reconcile at least enough to become allies, if not lovers, then you may stand alone throughout much of your battles. I'm still afraid of being betrayed in the future again though. You seem very priggish. Weren't you happier with this girl in more recent times before you made a mistake by letting your emotions get the best of you? Would you rather live the rest of your life frozen in fear and indecision? Or would you rather take a chance and try to get closer to her? She could be your happiness, just like Fayuko was mine. Don't be so arrogant as to constantly feel the need to repudiate her and look down on her as if she's evil and you're impervious. You are both the same. Don't be so quick to point out her every flaw. Instead, look in the mirror, improve as a person, and remember all the good times you spent together with her. Issei was shocked, but he knows he appreciates the brutal truth over any sugar-coated sweet lies spoon-fed to him. He remembers the way he and Rainer would tease each other in more recent memory, how their bond was beginning to greatly strengthen before he ruined it. Now, he just hopes it's not too late for things to go back to the way they were before. Before you go, Issei, there's something I'd like to do. It involves putting this blindfold on you. Hachiman puts a blindfold on the Red Dragon Emperor's eyes, making him uneasy. What's this about? Just an experiment someone close to me will run while I sit here and observe. The entrance to the shrine swings open, and Issei's ears twitch as he feels another extremely powerful presence approaching from behind. This one literally feels hot, as if his skin could melt if the person responsible wished, but they're holding their power back greatly. He tenses up when the mysterious newcomer is but a foot away, sensing them sit down right behind. Then, he feels a pair of hands cover his already blindfolded vision. The limbs touching him feel soft, and he smells something pleasant, the scent of the ocean, rain, and flowers wafting through his nostrils. This person is clearly female, and being this close to one, especially a stranger, sets him on edge. You can't see in there, can you, Ice-kun? He hears a woman's voice. Then no. Who are you? I shall reveal myself soon, but just know that I'm someone that sees you as if you're my own child. Why? I know that you've been through a lot. Your heart aches. However, I must warn you that if you continue fighting your enemies, you must do so for the right reasons. Don't do it because you hate what's in front of you, but continue struggling because you love those behind you that you should protect, such as your friend Asia Argento and your beloved fallen angel Rainer. His heart slows down, easing itself, taking heed to her wise words. Partner. I think this woman's magic is hypnotizing me, but not in a bad way. She's making sure I, as well as souls that previously used the boosted gear, don't fight back by making you go berserk. Before Issei can respond to Drag, his blindfold comes undone by the hands of the woman, and his head whips towards her. The woman that he sensed to be very attractive proved to be such. She has long light brown hair tied into a ponytail, ruby red eyes, a perfectly sculpted face that would make Aphrodite jealous, a black choker with a necklace of a blue star, a black blouse, a long silver skirt, and large breasts identical in size to Rainer's. Her ponytail is adorned by a red ribbon. She smiles at him warmly. Feeling better? Why yeah. Normally, I'm not this calm around the opposite gender. What did you do to me? I used my magic to channel a feeling of motherly love towards you to remove any animosity you hold. You still haven't told me your name. I'm Amaterasu, the Japanese goddess of the sun. Hachiman grins. Amaterasu is my little sister. Sorry to ambush you like that, but we were trying to help. Are you sure you feel better? Issei thought about it. Not a single depressed or angry thought came his way. Instead, he felt a little sadness, regret, and worry for Rainer considering his last interaction with her. Almost panicking, he stands up and bows to them quickly. Thank you so much for your help, but I need to be going home now. He turns around and begins running, but he stops when he remembers something he wanted to ask. What role will you and the Shinto faction play? Another conflict may be brewing on the horizon, this time between the devils and myself. Amaterasu answers. The devils. They've infiltrated many parts of elite human society that affects Japan as a whole, and as a result, our home has become desecrated with violence. Right now, we aren't at war, but if push comes to shove and we really get backed into a corner, the Shinto faction will come to your aid. Just remember that we prefer isolationism, but we also won't hesitate to fight when necessary. Issei nods. Again, thank you. As he's leaving, the kind goddess waves at him and cheerfully says. We'll meet again someday, Ice-kun. When he made it home and entered his house, he quietly rushes up the stairs and to his room, stopping right outside. Even though it's his own room, he decides to knock, knowing the person he wishes to see might not wish to see him. Rainer. It's me. I'm coming in, okay? Opening the door, he finds the fallen angel alone laying on his bed, staring up at the ceiling. She looks over at him and sighs. What do you need? Where's Asia? She went with your parents on an outing. Something about spoiling her with ice cream and amusement park rides. They offered me to go, but I wasn't feeling it and politely declined. I see. Can we talk? You can talk, I'll listen. I can't promise I'll respond. Her voice is ice cold, closing her eyes, although this doesn't affect Issei, as he now feels far more confident than ever before, due to Amaterasu healing him with her magic. Fine. You lay there. You don't have to say anything. He pulls up his computer chair next to the bed and stares at the girl that's almost pouting, stifling a chuckle at her cute expression. My talk with Azazel made me realize some things, and that's that I really don't know how fallen angels work in regards to the correlation between your lifespan and your mental and emotional maturity. As someone who was raised as a human and has lived as one for most of my life, I was prepared to live and die a much shorter life than the one I have now, but I was dealt a different hand and can only place those cards where I think is for the best. Someday, I want to get married and have kids of my own, but if I do that, I cannot continue to be negative. I must be a positive influence on any potential offspring. Rainer opens her eyes and stares up at him with a somewhat sad look. Then I hope whoever you end up with can make you very happy. You deserve at least that much. Why are you talking about yourself? Huh? She's confused. You're saying such things as if I would want to be with anyone but you. Issei. She says softly, her voice slightly hopeful. I'm sorry for taking my anger out on you. I promise I won't do it again. He smiles at her. By the way, we never officially broke up, so this time, let's not pretend to date while having our relationship masked under a pretense of closeness. Let us pursue the genuine thing. He takes her hand and gently kisses the back of it. I really like you, Rainer. He sends her one last loving smile before getting up and walking out. But not before he hears her say something to herself. Idiot Issei. You could have said that sooner. She sobs bittersweetly. I like you too. I know. He says while leaning up against the wall outside their room, making her gasp. Why you heard that? She blushes. I did. You know, for someone with Stockholm Syndrome, even you developed feelings for me quite fast. The color vanishes from her face, replaced by a furious expression as she gets up, wipes her tears, and charges after him with a light spear, surrounded by a freezing aura. That's not true. Get back here, bastard. The named sundeers get old real fast, you know, and maybe quite literally since you could end up becoming a crazy cat lady. He teases. Her light spear vanishes. Fine. I won't kill you, just let me beat you with this pillow. Rainer grabs a pillow off the couch and bashes his head with it repeatedly as he cackles maniacally with Drake watching like a proud father. For the first time, things are finally looking up between them. Chapter 8. A clever lie. We're home. Mickey announces as she, Goru, and Asia return from their outing. Rainer. They enter the living room where they hear Issei's laughter. There, they find the girl in question on top of their son, straddling him, the two of them on the couch, as she repeatedly smacks his chest and face with a pillow. Asia blushes at the scene, feeling happy for the two, but also realizing their position seems naughty as their groins touch. Issei sits up and hugs his attacker, smothering any of her attempts to playfully hit him. Goru stays silent, mentally cheering Issei on. Mickey clears her throat, getting the attention of the two lovers. Well. Mrs. Hyoudou. Rainer stands up and separates from Issei, a little unsure if she should feel embarrassed at her reaction to Issei's teasing and being subsequently caught by his parents. Hey, I told you to call my husband and not your mom and dad. Also, Issei, where were you? You were gone for a couple days and had me worried sick. I swear if you're involved in something shady. Mom, don't you trust me? You can't hold me too tightly. Someday, I must grow up and choose my own path. She frowns. You didn't answer my question. Issei, having practiced the need to wear a metaphorical mask to deceive others, felt like shit for lying to his mother, but he remembered a certain God of War's advice. It pains him greatly, but even though he loves his parents, he'll need to keep them at an arm's length to protect them. So he lies on the spot, using Azazel as his example. After school ended, I told Rainer and Asia to go home because Rainer and I got into an argument about something stupid. It was my fault and I apologized to her for it. Anyway, I met someone interesting. The person I ran into is older than me by a couple decades. We hit it off since he already knew me, and after getting to know each other, he offered me a job, and, after some convincing, I took it. A job? Aren't you too young? Not according to Japanese law, which states that children must be at least 15 years old to work. Anyway, he's a businessman of sorts. I can't tell you the details since I signed some NDAs, but it pays well. Goru asks. How well? 15 million yen, $100,000 salary. His dad's jaw dropped, a surge of excitement and happiness for his son filling him. This is legit. You're not being scammed somehow. Issei nods. My first day of work is tomorrow. They're letting me juggle both work and school. I make my own hours. I requested to them that I sometimes get to take Rainer and Asia with me as my aides. Mickey remains skeptical. This sounds good and all, and I know you're an extraordinarily exceptional boy, but they're really paying you that much without even the proper credentials. Your degrees, certificates, internships, job experience, and such. Asia takes the heat off, knowing he's manipulating his own parents, even though she doesn't fully understand why. If anyone can do it, it's him. Good for you, Issei-san. May the good Lord continue to bless you with lots of success. Save up lots of money, make Rainer your wife, and have lots of babies, amen. Rainer and Issei blink at the nun, shocked. Turning their heads, their gazes meet before they look away awkwardly. It's too early for that kind of thing, Asia. Rainer brings their friend back to the present. It's a nice thought, so maybe one day. Issei nods. To be in a relationship with someone, it's best that the two parties involved state their desires from the very beginning. Do they want marriage? I'm sure we'll see to it one day. How many kids would we want? I don't even know if I'll be a good father, so we'll have to build up to that moment without rushing it. Who does what chores? Rainer, let us split the chores 50-50. She nods. His mom still looked at him dubiously, but knowing she can't get any more information out of him, she sighs and goes upstairs followed by her husband, tuning out for the night to sleep. As soon as they're out of sight from the three, Issei erects a barrier to make sure they can't be heard. Rainer, I need to talk to Azazel immediately. What for? I just told my parents a very elaborate lie, so I have to cover my tracks to make sure they find out nothing. At the Grigori, Azazel is busy studying different sacred gears, neglecting most of his paperwork and leaving it up to the cadre class fallen angel known as Penemu, much to her annoyance. Azazel. A gruff voice calls out as a bearded man enters his lab. Yes, Barakiel. You have visitors. Unless it's a hot girl, I'm not interested. Barakiel, ignoring the half-joking demeanor of his leader, monotonously replies. You can get plenty of those among our ranks. Then I'm not interested. I'm working on something really important here. What? This? He holds up his creation as if it were a trophy. The bottle of lotion. Or is that lube? Yes and no. This, brachial, is an infinite supply of magical moisturizer that's going to make my dick girthier. Brachial's eyes, which are closed, somehow get smaller in disappointment. Awesome, right? The goatman grins proudly. How is that more important than performing your duties as our governor? The exasperation fills his voice. No wonder Penemu is fed up with your garbage. I have no idea how Shemhazai puts up with this nonsense. Don't be like that. If you're nice, I'll let you try it too. No. Anyway, the guests that wanted to see you have been standing right behind me this whole time. The cadre steps to the side and reveals Issei flanked by Rainer and Asia before leaving. Rainer shakes her head in minor disgust, Asia squirms uncomfortably, and Issei chuckles as they hear what the fallen leader invented. Azazel stands up. Issei. Rainer. Oh, and Asia Argento, right. What can I do for you? Awkwardly skipping Woody overhead, Issei skips any formalities. Yeah, so it turns out you were right to send me to that shrine. Oh? Our Shinto friends are a huge help, eh? Our? Issei shakes his head. Let me get something straight. I appreciate you setting me on the right path, even though they did most of the work, but I am not an ally of the fallen faction. Are you sure? You and Rainer being boyfriend and girlfriend may change that. How did you know about us? Issei looks at him suspiciously. Did you bug my house? What? No. I just merely interpreted that the two of you seem a lot closer than when I last saw you. Azazel points at Issei's side. The dragon looks down as does his girlfriend, only to realize she's clinging onto his arm, sandwiching the limb in between her large chest, so she quickly separates, blushing. Issei sighs. I came here to ask a favor of you. As a matter of fact, you owe me for letting Kakabiel run amok. Sure. No strings attached, I'll help you again. What do you need? I need money. How does an annual salary of 15 million yen sound? Azazel bursts out laughing. Damn, okay kid. I can hook you up, but what brought this on? He hesitates, still not 100% sure if he should trust the carefree former archangel, but he decides that if he wanted to hurt him, he would have done so already. It's my parents. I needed to come up with an excuse for why I can't be around them as much as I used to. Ah, I get it. Say no more. If you do this for me, the money has to be untraceable. I mean it, Azazel. If someone picks up a paper trail that leads to me, and if that person is a devil by the name of Lucifer or one of his allies, then I'm screwed. Relax kid. The Grigori has several branches of banks around the world that are disguised as different types of businesses. For example, in the American state of Texas, we have one that portrays itself as a gun store until a supernatural being comes in for a transaction. Redneck fallen angels. Issei snickers. One of the ones we have here in Kuo may seem like a ramen selling restaurant. I'll go there and open a new bank account for you with a year's worth of your first payment. Later in your bedroom, you'll find that I dropped off your new credit card along with its information, such as the account number and routing number. Issei nods and turns to leave with his two companions, and as soon as they exit the building and make their way through a back alley, he turns to face them, now that they're secluded. Staring into his girlfriend's dark pink eyes, he hums to himself. Issei? You know, I think it's time we train again. This time, I'm going to teach you both how to defend yourselves in hand-to-hand combat. You can do that. Asia is amazed. Yes. When I was young, my grandfather taught me all sorts of martial arts from judo, jiu-jitsu and aikido to karate. He made sure I mastered them all. Grandpa was the nicest yet scariest person I ever knew before he passed away. We were close. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. He shakes his head. Don't be. He was a World War II veteran that fought several battles against the Americans as a communications officer in the Imperial Japanese Navy, serving on a destroyer, the I.J. Animatsukas under Captain Tamaichi Hara throughout the entire war. That's a reason he knew how to kick my ass so easily, even after I mastered his teachings. He sighs reminiscently, missing his grandpa, despite having years to deal with his grief of losing him. Anyway, I just realized that you, Rainer, have mastered your aura perfectly, so that no one can detect you, except those you have your guard down around. Instead of trying to make you strong enough to fight with brute strength like we were doing before, why don't we make your fighting style that of a ninja or an assassin? She blinks and nods thoughtfully. I suppose stealth is my strong suit. Right. There's a specific variant of karate called Shitoryu that I'm going to teach you as well as ninjutsu and bujinkan. Perhaps I should just call your training regimen Bujutsu, since I will be teaching you every Japanese martial art form. Asia, I am training you to defend yourself, and Rainer too, but for Rainer, I'm passing on everything my grandfather taught me to you, which means you'll learn how to kill with your hands and no magic, at least until winter. Winter? She's confused, but the realization soon dawns on her. Oh, because of this frost magic I have. Exactly. Under my tutelage, you'll become invisible in all forms except the naked eye, but when the weather gets cold, you'll be able to use that to your advantage and possibly become one with the wind. Literally. Rainer sighs. This is all well and good and all, but how and where exactly are we going to train? Issei looks down in thought for a moment, grinning as an idea comes to him. I have just the person to ask. I don't understand why you came to me and thought I'd be of any help. It's not like you're doing bad. Sona, listen, Issei urges. I already have so much on my plate, Issei. I can't train your fallen girlfriend and a nun. It's already a weird enough mixed group as is that would raise lots of eyebrows if other devils caught wind, and my older sister would raise hell thinking they're enemies. As I said, your training regime seems to be working. Just ask those 10,000 strays you killed. That's the thing. I sincerely believe that experience is the best teacher. So, what? You mean to put them in danger? Sona adjusts her glasses. Alright, completely different scenarios from the metaphor I'm about to use, but I'll say it anyway. What you did, what you're doing, it's all too much like a child soldier being used somewhere in the world like, oh, I dunno, Africa or Cambodia, and that kid gets thrown into the front lines to fight like their lives depend on it. Rainer and Asia's sweat drop. She just compared us to child soldiers. The fallen isn't sure if she should feel insulted or glad that the devil is concerned for their well-being. Issei glares at Sona, not the way he did before with his hatred and fear of women, but in a challenging way. I'm not cruel enough to think of them as pawns. No, they're indispensable to me, both to prepare for whatever shit's coming our way, and because I low. He catches himself from saying anything further, blushing as he's still an introvert trying to exit his comfort bubble, but everyone hears what he said and puts two and two together. Rainer and Asia blush and grin at him, while a few of the other student council girls softly awe. In the boosted gear, Drake is flying and doing backflips in the air, celebrating Issei's newfound love. Shaking his head and ignoring their looks, Issei continues. My point is that the best way for them to learn is to put them in dangerous situations. Ever see the World War II movie Hacksaw Ridge? Sona nods. Captain Jack Glover sarcastically asks Private Desmond Doss if they should request the Imperial Japanese not to invade on Saturdays, just because that's Doss's Sabbath. The same situation applies here. War can begin at any time, therefore we should be ready, willing, and able to fight at a moment's notice. She sighs. Fine, you win, Issei. What is it you need of me? I need much more dangerous strays to hunt, but in a new location, one in a much more densely populated area than the mountains we were in before. Tokyo is chock full of them. I must warn you that should you do this, you risk the exposure of our world to all of humanity. Well, as your ally and friend, I think it's only prudent to inform you that the Shinto faction has chosen my side and will be involving themselves. Unlike the Greek, Norse, or Hindus, the Shinto see their human worshippers or descendants as their people, but a misguided one being manipulated by countless devils. They hold us devils in contempt. Dear Satan. The next time you see them, you need to let them know that I am not their enemy. The dragon nods. I'll be sure to tell them. A thought occurs to him, and he acts accordingly. Also, I request that Asia stay with you for the next few months, as you teach her how to defend herself. That's alright. I'll have my knights and rooks whip her into shape. She'll stay at my mansion, so I'll let you know where this retreat of mine lays. Issei-san. Asia suddenly gets nervous at the thought of being separated from her friends. Don't worry, Asia. I'll visit you once a week. Sorry that I said that I'd train you and am now letting someone else do it. It's fine. He glances at Rainer for a moment before turning back to his devil ally. Sona, how many strays are in Tokyo, and how many of them are truly dangerous for our skill levels? Realizing that he's implying his girlfriend as well, Sona replies. I have no exact number, but let me put it this way. Not counting purebloods, there are trillions of devils in the underworld, and for every population of 100,000, about 669 stray. 669 every year? No. Every day. His jaw drops as he realizes the scope of incompetency and neglect that extends to devil society too, instead of just fallen. Holy shit. Holy shit indeed. Hey, watch your mouth around the president. Greg told me about you guys suffering huge losses during the Great War and something called the Devil Civil War. How are there trillions of you still? The higher ranking devils more influential than I see this amount as weak because only a very small portion of us are warriors. As for these strays popping up left and right, this has been going on since the beginning of time, from the very moment the original Satan made our society prosper in numbers as he loved bestiality. With Tokyo being the only city on Earth that holds a major portal that connects Earth to our world, can you imagine how many have infested Japan, much less bred with each other? Issei starts to feel a little nervous, now realizing what he's getting himself into. However, it's too late to back out now. If Tokyo is the gateway for all of Asia, is it possible that there are strays in other countries? Yes, but those portals only give rise to very few, and I doubt any of those strays will be able to enter Japan unless they find a way to fly here. Issei hums. May I ask why it is that Tokyo is the epicenter? Sona shrugs. Hell if I know. If I had to guess, it's probably because it is the least holy place, because so few people worship the creator of the universe here, compared to the other countries on that list. Creator? You mean God? Ah. Every devil in the room fell to their knees, clutching their heads in pain. Right. Sorry, it slipped my mind that saying his name is like an exorcism for you. He turns to his girlfriend. Rainer, this is how we'll train. I'll instill bujutsu into you in our free time, and when we're not free, we hunt strays in Tokyo. We're really gonna slaughter every stray. Rainer is feeling annoyed already at the daunting task, her fallen angel phenotypes urging her to be a little lazy. Yep. At least every higher level stray. What, don't tell me you're tired already. Her eyes harden with determination. No. If it means getting stronger with you, then it's worth it. Chapter 9. Blood Drunk. War is where the young and stupid are tricked by the old and bitter into killing each other. Nico Bellic. While Asia is with the Citri peerage training and Issei's parents aren't home, that means that Issei and Rainer have the house to themselves. He waits downstairs for her to get changed in clothes she said she likes, and soon enough, she turns up, causing his jaw to drop. Rainer decided that the outfit she will wear at all times for training and actual combat, although the line between those two has gotten very blurry, is a burgundy-ish dark pink short dress with shoulder armor, pieces of the same color, and bits of black mixed in, such as a small outline on her dress closest to her breasts that makes it appear as if it were part of her bra. Showing much of her cleavage. On her neck is a black choker with an O-ring just under it. Bits of her upper arms are visible, her lower arms also have the same light armor on them, and her hands are fitted perfectly into black gloves. Her lower body is covered by a short black skirt and dark leggings, her dark hair tied into a ponytail. Noticing how he's checking her out, she stares at her boyfriend innocently and expectantly. How do I look? With your eyes. Issei jokes dryly after collecting himself. Rainer glares at Issei. Hey. That's not how you should treat a lady. She looks away shyly and mumbles. Besides, I'm your girlfriend, you know. You should be giving me compliments every now and then. He chuckles. I was kidding. You look gorgeous as always. Plus, it helps that your outfit is both practical for training and combat plus very seductive. Seductive? She tilts her head curiously. I mean, you're showing a lot of your cleavage, and your boobs are huge, so you can use that to distract any enemies. HMPH. I always knew you were secretly a pervert. The dragon shrugs. I can't help it, I'm a 15-year-old boy. Although, if it makes you uncomfortable or comfortable, for better or worse, I guarantee that the first thing any man will notice is that huge rack. It doesn't matter how much self-control one has. You're like the closest thing this world has to a real-life version of Harley Quinn or Catwoman or something. Issei pulls her into his arms on the couch. Sitting up, he buries his face into her tits. She blushes and pouts at him, puffing out her cheek. Dummy Issei. Chun-chun. His teasing is muffled by the fun bags. His angel runs her fingers through his hair lovingly. They stay in that position for a couple minutes before they separate. Alrighty. You ready to hunt some higher level strays? Rainer sighs in exasperation. I am ready. Are you ready? Yes. I can't hear you. Louder. Issei. For fuck's sake, let's just go. If I'm supposed to be learning ninjutsu to become your personal assassin, then we're supposed to be quiet. She scolds. Alright. He grumbles. The lady duff protests too much, methinks. Rainer can't help but grin. He told her about his run-in with the Shinto, mainly Amaterasu. Although a part of her can't help but feel jealous that she wasn't the one to help Issei, she's still grateful that Issei has become happier, even playful, and that he went out of his way to fix their relationship. She decides it's time to repay his affection by becoming stronger for his sake. Together. Chapter 9. Blood Drunk. Issei and Rainer teleported into an alley in Tokyo where no one can see them. Outside, the bustling city immediately put them on edge as they know they'll have to be extremely careful to not get spotted, so immediately they cast magic to mask their auras. Where do we start? I'm thinking that if we're gonna dip our toes, we might as well go swimming with the sharks. Some of the busiest but riskiest public places in Japan are train stations. Follow me, Ray. The wall jumps up a fire exit as they rapidly but quietly ascend the side of a building. I feel like we're gonna blow our cover there. Perhaps not. A lot of people, mainly Japanese men, focus more on being perverted creeps, molesting girls on trains and whatnot. It's a good thing I can teleport and fly instead of dealing with public transportation. They skip from rooftop to rooftop. Sexual assault may not be the only crime committed on trains. I suspect that during rush hour, sussy people pickpocket and strays especially will do so to look for money or food or money to pay for food. Sussy? Suspicious. Realization dawns on her face. Oh. Now that it is rush hour and people are commuting from schools and work to home or their part-time jobs, we may find someone we're looking for. Using their wings, they descend into a crowd of people going up the steps of a staircase leading into the train station. No one seems to notice them due to their presence being concealed, at least no one that isn't supernatural, so they remain on alert for anyone that has magic. Then, as they wait for the trains to arrive at the platform, they see it. At first, from a distance, it looked like bugs on the ground, like cockroaches or scorpions, but then it disappeared before reappearing. These are the strange creature's eyes. Suddenly, the ground shifts, rising as the hideous thing that was blending in, sickly yellow in color, makes itself known by shape-shifting to announce its presence. Other humans notice this and run away screaming in terror. Ah. The aliens are here. It's the end of the world. We're all gonna die. Sighing in annoyance, Issei snaps his fingers and casts an illusion charm, protecting his lover and himself from the view of ordinary people as well as surveillance. They harmlessly phase through their forms as they run for their lives. As soon as they are all gone, he also puts up a barrier to protect the area from the ensuing brawl. He was hoping this would also work on this thing that is evidently a stray devil, that it would not notice them, but it did. The creature of a dozen eyes blinks at them, opens its maw, and rapidly spits out magical attacks at the speed of a minigun, forcing the two to dodge. Blue lights, fireballs, and icicles zip past them. Shit. A curse escapes Issei. Rainer, you know what to do. He shouts as they flank the stray on opposite sides. She realizes what he means. Issei means to get close and distract this thing. Luckily, it's not very smart, so I have to be the one to finish it off, but I'll need to be fast. They quickly dispose of this middle-ranking stray. Little do they know that they were being watched. On top of one of the skyscrapers, a boy with silver hair and blue eyes looks on with great interest as the pair fight stray after stray. So this is your true strength. My rival is strong. He stealthily tails them. He observes and studies the capabilities of his rival patiently. After a few hours, he gets bored and decides to get closer. The couple fought and killed several dangerous strays, both parties trying to stay as anonymous as possible. Some of these things they killed look like skinwalkers or SCPs. As Issei and Rainer finish off a much larger stray that can be mistaken for an alien yet again, Issei wipes off a bead of perspiration. Finally. It only took 6 hours, but I'm finally sweating. Translation. You are only just now getting warmed up. Rainer concludes, looking at him with exasperation. She clears her throat and looks over her shoulder towards a garbage dumpster in the alley they're in. I hate to break it to you, Issei, but we're being followed. We are? I thought something felt off. Issei stands beside her and follows her gaze to the dumpster. You there? Come out. After a moment, the figure emerges. You both sure surpassed my expectations. Volley Lucifer smirks. That especially goes for you, Red One, although your girl is special, too. She detected me when I was doing all I can to hide myself. Issei shrugs. Every person has that sixth sense when they feel someone's eyes on them. Rainer blinks. I can tell that you're far stronger than me, but stealth is something I mastered long ago. Now, I'm just adding a more human element to it. Issei adds. That doesn't explain how I wasn't able to sense you. The hacker Yuku replies. If the roles were reversed, I wouldn't have sensed you, either. Does that make you feel better? Bali, please don't do this. Albion pleads. Drake's human has already surpassed even most ultimate class beings in such a short time. Fighting him will be like setting off a nuke with you at the epicenter. His warning falls on deaf ears. Issei steps forward, half-shielding Rainer protectively. So you're him, huh? Drake told me about you, bearer of the White Death. You know, I think it's very stupid. What is? Volley asks. This whole rivalry between them. Why should we fight because two old farts hold a grudge and are too prideful to see what they're truly capable of, or they simply don't care? Actually, Issei, I do realize how much suffering my actions have caused. However, you may have no choice but to fight if your opponent insists upon challenging you. I know, Drake. If push comes to shove, then so be it. Still. Issei has his eyes closed for a moment, sighing regretfully. Why did it have to be today, of all days, that we meet? It just so happens that I'm in Tokyo, but a battle here would kill many innocent people. Bali looks on thoughtfully, as if he's considering their words. You have a point, but I've waited too long to be denied this. He steps forward, arming his divine dividing. Ah fuck. Drake cusses. Looks like I have no choice. What are you talking about, Drake? Issei mentally communicates. Partner, right before you were born, I placed 3 seals on you, so that your aura and all its power doesn't leak out. Being so young, you wouldn't have been able to control it so easily, much less the boosted gear or its balance breaker. Exactly how much more powerful would I be without my seals? Right now, you can easily handle one less seal to deal with, which would raise you from low ultimate class to a leader class being. Another seal lifted would put you on my level when I had a body. Lastly, without all 3 seals, you become something else entirely. Like what? I have no idea. None of my hosts have ever reached that level. I just removed your first seal. I don't feel any different. That's because it's not going to physically change you as much as it will magically, although you might be able to use new abilities that can alter your body composition. Issei, out of respect for Volley, also arms his boosted gear. It would be rude of me to not fight you using the same form as you. I say. Rainer stammers in worry. You're seriously going to do this? He sighs, turns towards her, and kisses her square on the lips for several seconds, surprising her. In case I somehow die, I love you. She frowns. That doesn't make me feel any better, you reckless. They're interrupted by Volley making the first move. The white-haired boy teleports them to the outskirts of Kuo City, far from downtown, but not exactly out of view of the suburbs. Rainer watches from ground level as the 2 dragon emperors clash high in the air, throwing punches, hooks, blocking, kicking, shouting, screaming, and hollering enough sound that would wake the whole town up, so she sets up a barrier for the sake of protection and illusion, separating the 3 from civilization. Issei's draconic wings unfurl, and he soars high above his adversary, pointing his palm at his target and launching dozens of mini-dragon shots. Most of them miss and explode at the ground level, forcing his girlfriend to cover herself in a bubble of magic and protect her face from debris using her arms. One of the mini-dragon shots lands its mark and stuns Volley. Seeing this, Issei pulls out his sword, early retirement, and divabums straight towards the boy. Banishing dragon balance breaker. At the last second, right before the blade makes contact with the white dragon, he is suddenly enveloped in armor from head to toe. However, before the final piece of armor can connect, Issei's weapon stabs the draconic Kevlar at a sharp angle, causing the entire balance breaker to fall off and disappear. Volley cackles and responds with a headbutt, sending Issei back several meters, disorienting him. This is fun. You're one crazy sumbitch. Don't pretend like you aren't enjoying this. Heh. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. Issei grins. Let's finish this. Simultaneously, they both charge up one final attack at the same time, causing Rainer's eyes to widen. Are they insane? She wonders as she enters the barrier she was maintaining to keep the city safe. Long Ina Smasher. Both Drag and Albion shout. The energy beams from their palms meet halfway, colliding and expanding outward into a massive explosion. Rainer grits her teeth as she is barely able to hold the barrier before it finally shatters from the shockwave, knocking her off her feet. A few small buildings closest to the battle instantly crumble. Windows shatter miles away from just the sound alone. She coughs as she gets back up and looks up in fear. Issei. After a minute, the smoke and dust clear, and she smiles to see him still in the same position. I'm okay. He wipes a drop of blood from a small cut on his face. All that for a drop of blood. Flying down into a crater in what was once a mountain, he finds Volley embedded in the earth, gritting his teeth in pain. Damn, rival. I knew you'd be strong, but I didn't know you were this strong. Volley coughs and chuckles. I don't think we officially introduced ourselves. My name is Issei Hyoudou. Issei offers a hand. Volley looks at it, hesitating for a moment before he takes it, helped back onto his feet. Volley Lucifer. I only make friends with those more powerful than me because they have something they can offer me. Care to guess how many friends I have? How many? 0. Issei laughs. Then how about I be your first? Reluctant at first, Volley shakes his hand. Friendship, huh? My experience with that is nil. I was wrong about you, Issei. You're not a little crazy. You're just as batshit insane as me. We should leave now. Someone might come here to investigate. I'm not exactly popular among devils. Volley nods. Rainer runs up to them and hugs Issei before they transmit out of their moments before a teleportation circle opens and a beautiful woman with silver hair and red eyes emerges. What the hell? Grafia mumbles upon seeing the destruction. Bewildered, she has never seen anything on such a level. All she can think is, what could have caused this? In the underworld, a certain Satan is scrolling through a datapad. You're sure of this, Grafia? Serziches says. I am. Several mountains were turned to dust, leaving nothing but craters. The investigation team I assembled finds that whatever magical residue was there is similar to Beelzebub's findings. The red-haired man clasps his hands in front of his face in thought. There is very few people that are capable of such a thing. Either they were evil dragons or one of the heavenly dragons, possibly both. Grafia blinks and narrows her eyes, realizing how serious this is. The dragon we're looking for, the one that attacked Rias. You don't think? She let the silent question hang in the air. This is really bad. Call Serafal and the others to the emergency room. Chapter 10. Time Bomb. Aside from sleeping and being hand-fed by a maid as well as having her adult diapers changed, the only other activity Rias Gremory would participate in is her daily routine of staring blankly at her lap, occupied by her own inactivity and thoughts. Tiba. Kaneko. Akeno. What happened to her? All she knows is that her servants are dead. Tiba. Kaneko. Akeno. The flash of red and green as some dark beast in the form of a lizard-like silhouette hisses at her, its mental image threatening to destroy her once again, and she whimpers and closes her eyes. Tiba. Kaneko. Akeno. It's been a couple months since the incident, as vague memories either keep her awake at night or haunt her nightmares through 12+ hour sleep cycles, and now, she is beginning to enter the final stage of grief acceptance. They're gone, and there is nothing she can do to bring them back. But what good is laying in bed all day, every day, going to do? The least I can do is try to recollect what happened, to search for clues that will bring my memories back. The atrophy and fatigue retreats from her body, and newfound strength enters her. Removing the blanket, she exits her bed. Still. Why do I get the feeling that I'm responsible for their deaths? She shudders. And I'm opening. It is night, and Issei is seen zooming up the outside of a massive medieval, Luciferian-esque tower using his wings, and in front of him stands all his enemies. His eyes turn green, his roar shaking the earth. Bats fly out of trees and in front of the camera, obscuring the viewer's vision. The Grim Reaper and his scythe come into view, illuminated by the deathly moonlight, and followed by the title of the story. Issei is seen walking home as Rias watches from the second story of the Orc. On the way, he meets Rainer and Asia, who flank him and follow his lead. The Phoenix climbs in altitude, revealing Riser standing on a rooftop, looking smug as ever. Serziches stands next to his sister, who lays in bed in a fugue state, staring at her with worry at her condition, walking away with determination and anger in his gaze. A brief cameo flashes for Grafia and Serafal. Azazel pops a cigarette into his mouth and has a goofy smirk on his face that turns serious as the sun goes down. Michael gets on a knee before the Tree of Life. The mysterious man in a samurai's armor, Hachiman, thrusts his sword, practicing his swings as his sister, Amaterasu, watches from the side. Asia and Diodora are glaring at each other. The devil charges at her and attacks, but she defends herself furiously, parrying and countering his moves with impressive speed. Rainer, dressed as a maid, is seen conversing seemingly happily with high-ranking devils, including Grafia, at a party. She exits the building and quickly sheds her disguise, her fake smile disappearing as she becomes stoic. She looks over to a hooded figure, Issei, hiding in the shadows, and sends him a nod. A short cameo flashes of Krom Kruich and then Vali, smirking as his balance breaker covers him. Rainer walks alone under the kiss of the waning sunlight. A breeze causes her to stop and tuck her long hair out of her face as it obscures her view. She gazes up at the sky with a longing look. The weather is beautiful and would uplift the spirits of most, but she feels sad. Tears stream down her cheeks as she runs away, not looking where she's going as she crashes into Issei's chest with him hugging her and whispering her name. Her eyes widen in shock. It rains hard as a battered Issei walks through the streets, punching a wall in frustration, his eyes melancholy. He's startled when a hand is placed on his shoulder, so he turns to fight, but he's greeted by Sona giving him a reassuring grin, her peerage behind her. The scene changes, and suddenly, a mountainside explodes, and Issei is seen emerging from the flames in his balance breaker, his sword covered in the blood of those that crossed him. It's night again, and while flying up the Luciferian tower, his sword clashes with a winged figure. The moon turns blood red as Kakabiel cackles while observing, not noticing Rainer swing her weapon at him from behind, murder in her eyes. Beings of several factions join the fray and fight each other, causing the tower to slowly crumble. Issei falls off the tower as the hooded Grim Reaper swoops past. Rainer panics and reaches out, her hand tightly clasps Issei's. Chapter 10. Time Bomb. What did you say? Barakiel roars. See, calm down, Barry. Azazel pleads. Calm down. The Red Dragon Emperor killed my daughter. Why am I hearing of this now? According to the boy, she killed him first on the orders of the Gremory. I should hunt him down. No, you will not. Azazel's playful demeanor disappears. He went from nervous about breaking the news that Akeno is dead to defensive and finally, serious. My daughter would never. Do you even know your own daughter? She never wanted to see you. I bet you have no idea what she was like at all. I know what her favorite food is. She loved Carolina Reapers. She would eat that insanely spicy plant like it was nothing. She'd even eat it with ice cream and popcorn. No wonder she was a sadomasochist. Like mother, like daughter. Barakiel glares at his boss, making him sweat. Don't talk about my dead family like that. They're gone. I have nothing to live for. I want you to start counting my teardrops. What? Why? A river of tears streams down the cadre's face. Because that's how many years the Securitate will spend in the Casitas before I kill him with the same number of lightning zaps. For the last fucking time, Issei is off limits. He could potentially be our greatest ally, but you could also make him our worst enemy. If you cannot think about the greater good for our race, then you are of no use to me. As a matter of fact, crossing Issei will earn you the hostility of the Shinto, or at least of Hachiman and Amaterasu. At this point, anything you say are just platitudes and barren words. You have never truly cared about fallen angels. If you did, you, the oh so great and intelligent Azazel that happens to be a scientist, would have found a way to not just preserve our numbers, but increase them. If the devils and angels can with their evil pieces and brave saints, why can't we? We're the most technologically advanced out of all three factions, yet you've done nothing to help us. Azazel opens his mouth to retort, but he finds he can't, not just because his subordinate's words ring true, but because he tenses up when he finds the source of his consternation appear behind the cadre. The hand places onto Barakiel's shoulder. "Sup pops?" Issei tilts his head up in greeting as Rainer peeks over his shoulder. Bali also appears with him, scratches on his face, earning an eyebrow raise from Azazel. "I hear you want to kill me." Issei gets to the core of the issue immediately. "Red Dragon." Barakiel growls. "Look, I'm gonna be frank with you. After Akeno killed me, I hated her guts. She stabbed me, so I gutted her. What confuses me is why you're upset. If you claim to have cared about Akeno but never were around, do you ever wonder why she grew up to be such a fucked up person that thinks it's okay to use others like tools before disposing of them?" "I did care about her." The widowed man snarls. "Did you really?" "Yes. She never wanted to see me because she blamed her mother's death on me. I wasn't strong enough to protect both of them. You're a shit excuse for a father. If I had a daughter of my own and if she hated me, I'd still force my way into her life if it means she has someone to instill a moral compass into her so that she grows up to be a good person. Instead, Akeno grew up openly displaying unemployed behavior. Gee, I wonder why." Barakiel stumbles back in shock at truth bomb while Issei stares at him in disgust and Rainer looks on with unease. "Issei." Rainer sighs. "Was all that really necessary? I mean, you're not wrong, but you're also badmouthing the dead, and not only that, it's a person you killed. Sure, it was out of revenge, but I'm not sure if that makes it okay." His heart skips. "Oh, my sweet." He swoops her off her feet with a hug. Idiot, put me down." She struggles against his tight grip. "You're too good for me." He rubs his cheek on her head affectionately. "Moo. Stop, please." His girlfriend pouts. Ollie laughs. "Damn, this whole having a girlfriend thing seems fun. I hope I can catch one. Females aren't Pokemons." Issei sweat drops at his friend's wording. "Bad volley." Rainer scolds, her voice muffled into Issei's chest, so he puts her down as she smacks his chest. She steps towards Barakiel. "Lord Barakiel, I can't even imagine the pain you're feeling, but..." "The boy is right." Barakiel interrupts, closing his eyes. "I'm disappointed in myself. My daughter's failure is my own. Red Dragon, while I still hold immense anger and hatred toward you, I promise I'll do everything it takes to benefit fallen angels, even if it means tolerating your presence or even working alongside you." That was fast. "You and Rainer remind me of my wife and I, although the roles are reversed. Rainer is the fallen angel in love with a human like I was with Shuri. I'd feel bad trying to tear you two apart." The comfortable silence descends upon the 5 occupants of the room. Suddenly, Azazel farts, earning eyebrow raises and a glare from Rainer. "Ah, that was those chicken and spice curl fries I got from Los Palos Hermanos." He looks towards the camera. This chapter is not sponsored by Breaking Bad. He turns back to Issei. "Anyway, what did you three need?" Ollie smirks. "I made a new friend." "Ollie, I'm so proud of you." Azazel cries hysterically, rips his shirt off for some reason, and begins chasing Volley in circles while trying to hug him until he finally catches his adopted son in a tight embrace. "Let me go. I'm so proud." Issei and Rainer laugh at the scene. As much as he doesn't want to admit it, despite his lack of trust towards Azazel, the possibility of becoming allies with him is becoming more and more likely. Rias gazes towards her side, strolling around the Gremory mansion at a slow pace, still getting used to being back on her feet. Her legs stop as her eyes are captivated by the view of the backyard of the Gremory mansion. The house sits atop a small mountain valley. Low clouds blend in with her view of a waterfall. Snow-covered hills remind her of the fact that it is summer in most places, but not all, as the solidified form of water hasn't melted yet. However, down below are beautiful pine trees, vibrant green grass swaying in the wind, and pretty flowers. High above, it appears as though it could rain at any moment as dark clouds gradually swirl around the estate, as if encapsulating the essence of what she's feeling. She takes in the sight, blinks, and then moves on. Her feet carry her until she absent-mindedly comes to a room at the end of a hall where she hears loud voices. "Not understand," came the serious voice of Serafo mid-sentence. "A dragon attacked her. A dragon destroyed Ria's life as we knew it." Rias freezes. "I shouldn't be eavesdropping, but..." She puts her ear to the door. "We cannot risk going to war and stake everything we fought hard for just for one person." The voice of a devil counselor shouts. Other voices shout in agreement. However, some disagree. "You can't be serious. 3 of our slaves were killed, and one of our high-class kin, the little sister of the Satan, was spared in mocking fashion. Do you really think we should let such an insult go without retaliation?" Albium silences them. "And what would you have us do? While it hurts our pride, we cannot just rush into battle without first gathering intelligence." Ajuka nods in agreement. "We must know our enemy. If our suspicions are correct and it turns out to be a dangerous evil dragon or possibly one of the heavenly dragons, maybe both, would you be willing to risk reigniting the Great War? Need I remind you that the White One is Azazel's prodigy?" Serziches stands up. "I love my sister and will do anything to find the one who besmirched her. However, our relationship with the fallen angels is vital, as well. The last time we went to war with them, they killed just as many of us as we did them. The only reason more of them died is because they fought more battles against heaven than we did, being caught in the middle of it. We at least had earth and the underworld separating us from the might of the angels. Next time, if there is a next time, Satan forbid, we might not be so lucky, as I'm sure they know just about every entrance into our abode." He clenches his fist. "My sister. My poor sister. The first step we need to take is to find a way to get her back on her feet, snap her out of her coma. I'll wait for however long it takes after that, weeks, months even, so that she's comfortable enough to then try to remember what happened to her and who put her in such a terrible state." Hearing this, Rias couldn't take it anymore. She bursts into the room, startling everyone inside, especially the guards by the door. "Big brother? Rias?" He's shocked to see her standing on her own 2 feet. "I'm so sorry for worrying you." He, alongside his parents, rushes over and hugs her, kissing both her cheeks. "Dear sister, I'm so happy to see you're awake, but are you sure you should be up and about?" "I'm fine. I want to help. I want to remember, but I only see bits and pieces. It's all such a blur." Rias clutches her head as her head throbs in pain briefly. "Rias?" Benelana looks concerned. "What is it?" Zeoticus pushes for information. "If there's anything at all, even the slightest thing you may deem insignificant, it could help us find the culprit." All I saw was a monster." She trembles in fear. "It was huge. Red. Green. Fast. Strong. Really strong. Red and green. Could it be the Red Dragon Emperor?" Serafo narrows her eyes. Serziches remains silent for a moment. "Perhaps, but the other possible suspect is Krom Kruich, whose armored appearance and attacks are said to be green in color." Rias opens her teary eyes. Where would we find them?" "I don't know, but what I do know is that the best possible way to lure at least one of them out is to reunite our race with all the original demons." Zekrom turns pale. "Lord Lucifer, you don't mean..." "I do. Demons, vampires, and maybe even the original Satans." Graphia's face hardens at the mention of those she was once fiercely loyal to. "You mean we fought the devil's civil war for nothing?" The whole room erupted in chaotic yet peaceful debates and arguments. Serziches sighs. "Serafo, I'm leaving you and Falbium to make sure they keep the peace here. Ajuka, Graphia, and I will seek out these dark beings. Mom, Dad, take care of Rias. She's a ticking time bomb. It's not a matter of if, but when she remembers everything that I am sure of." Little does he know how truly strong the memory-altering spell Issei put on Rias really is. The 3 leave the room, following the red-haired king. "The original Satans. Are you sure about this?" Graphia voices her doubt softly. "I'm planning for every possible contingency. The worst case scenario would be that the Great War does reignite because the one that attacked Rias could be an ally of the angels or fallen, as unlikely as that may be given how dragons are known for operating autonomously, or at least the dragons as powerful as this one." "Where do we start?" Ajuka asks. Serziches gulps nervously. "We must resurrect the Morning Star. It turns out that he was not as insane as we were led to believe." Well, that's it guys. That was the full story. For now. Who knows? Maybe there'll be more chapters in the future. Well, see y'all next time.